welcome to another episode of You'll Only Listen Twice, our Bond podcast where we're taking a look at all the Bond movies, both official and unofficial. This week is a special one. It's a special film that we're talking about this week. But before we get into that, I'm Jake.
I'm Troy.
And I'm done. I think I'm officially I've reached my breaking point.
Wait, now you're done?
You're tapping out?
This was particularly painful for some reason. We'll talk more about it.
Jeez.
I kind of can feel that, Jan. I was really looking forward to revisiting this one. And I watched it and I'm like, why doesn't this work?
This was fucking awful.
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, we'll get into that, but producer Paul, you need to introduce yourself.
I guess I need to make up for, I don't think I introduced myself at all last week, so how you doing?
Unimportant.
We're still debating whether or not I'm a cat, but I think I'm a cat. So
Paul, you've been a cat for the past 13 episodes.
You made that music video with Paula Abdul, remember? She was like, we stick together because I'm
They're
dressed
making a
like
movie about me
cat.
where I eat lasagna, and I'm played by Chris Pratt.
Say when? Never, John. Bury me in cheese.
That's why you sound so lifeless and monotone.
I eat lasagna, but then for some reason I'm lured into the Italian restaurant as a baby by spaghetti just to throw you off the lore. It's very confusing.
What?
Did no one watch we need to talk about the Garfield trailer, everybody.
Paul, that doesn't exist because it's 2020.
Oh, right. We need to talk about the Bill Murray Garfield trailer.
It's not something he wanted. It's just something that's always been there. Every second, it grips him from within. It's his destiny, his power, his curse. Who is he? He's Garfield.
My life has been saved by the miracle of lasagna.
But anyway, we're not here to talk about Garfield starring Bill Murray from 2004.
Then I'm done. I don't
Wait,
want
can
to
we at least talk about
Moonraker.
Garfield Tale of Two Kitties? That's the only movie I've seen where all I remember is the end credits.
Well,
is there a Garfield cartoon where he goes to space? There has to be.
Oh, I'm
sure there is. But speaking of space,
we are talk about how Garfield. So in the Garfield show, the first half was Garfield, okay, and then the second half was all these animal creatures, and there was an angry sheep who looked just like Garfield, and he's like, I'm mad about everything.
I always wondered why is Garfield the only one that stands on two legs while the rest of the animals...
Well, have you seen that chart? I was reading this chart lately where at the beginning Garfield did not stand on two legs, but then in the mid-'80s, he was kind of like Snoopy. By the mid to late 80s, he got on two legs, and the caption was, once Garfield's on two legs, it's over. And I'm inclined to agree.
Garfield may have been on two legs, but one thing he might have done or might not have done is go to space, which is what James Bond does in the movie we're talking about this week, Moonraker.
Just like the Moonraker goes.
Woo. And you guys,
James Garfield is different from the cat.
Okay.
Correct?
Well, hey, you guys, I planned something very special for this episode.
Garfield?
You might, close.
Lasagna night?
It's even better. You notice that there are straps around your chairs. I've talked about it with producer Paul.
Well, those are always there.
Yeah, I thought this was a sex thing.
Yeah, we went to the leather shop and got you all straps, but
the strap, you might want to strap in right now because we are going to space. The only way to talk about this movie. And get ready. I have the button right here for ignition.
Oh,
3,
God, Jake. I didn't
2,
consent to this.
1.
Jake.
Lift off.
Jake.
I did not expect this, Chief Voice.
We're here in space. It looks like a bad backdrop. I can see some production assistants, and Stanley Kubrick's right there. This is pretty interesting.
Oh, yay! The last time I was strapped in front of Stanley Kubrick, we were shooting Eyes Wide Shut.
Hey.
What?
Why?
Well, it was a Christmas movie, so I had to be strapped in to play Santa in the deleted scene where Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman sit on Santa's lap. And I'm like, what do you want for Christmas, kids? Ho, ho, ho. And they said, a divorce. And I was like, too real.
Oh no, Troy's on one of his manic rants again.
Again,
well, that's what
I never
happens when
left.
we traveled very fast into space, and now
he's
we're floating
inhaled
in
enough
space.
Hydrogen from space.
He's losing all the calcium in his body, and now he's all loopy. But we are now in the right mode to be talking about what is considered by many to be possibly the dumbest in a series filled with dumb movies.
Yeah,
possibly the dumbest one.
Well, not in a world where Die Another Day exists.
Well, Die Another Day is a masterpiece. Don't.
No.
Oh no, I love it. I love it.
Moonraker's stupid. Die Another Day is drives a motorcycle into a wall and gets,
Die Another
plays
Day
with
is
that.
so stupid that it comes around to being absolutely brilliant.
We'll get to it.
We'll get to it, but we're talking about Moonraker. This is the last Ian Fleming book that was adapted until Casino Royale, because the rest were short stories or original stories.
But I oddly enough read the book for this.
Yes.
This and Casino Royale are the two James Bond books that I've read, and this has nothing to do with the book.
Absolutely not.
No, it doesn't.
This is called the Moonraker because it has moon in the title, and they wanted to do a Star Wars ripoff.
A little movie by some crazy former film student came out. It was called Star Wars.
Wait, film
and-
students can make movies? Since when?
apparently.
Well, Star Wars is the living proof that they can't.
they can't and they shouldn't.
The movie that ruined everything forever.
Sallow?
Yes. Yeah, so at the last minute, they're like, why don't we do Moonraker? Because moon, we can change the story because, well, if you've read the book, it is about an industrialist who wants to nuke London. And they're like, that's lame. What if you went to space? Like we're at right now.
Did you see that Albert Broccoli interview where he's just going like, when Ian Fleming wrote this, he was a stupid idiot. Like,
yeah, no, it's like, well, he thought very small. He thought missiles. Who gives a shit about missiles now? Now we are doing space.
When he wrote Moonraker, it was a little piddling rocket that went up to destroy London.
And he said the immortal words, this is not science fiction.
it's science fact.
We're not science fiction, we're in fact science fact.
Yeah.
Yes, baby.
in the movie where there's a gondola that like travels like through land.
And there's a movie where you can like shoot lasers at each other in the vacuum of space.
In that interview, he's also like, yeah, when Ian Fleming wrote it, they hadn't done anything, but now we've gone to moon, we've gone all throughout the universe, and I'm like, all throughout the like, is he drunk?
Now, I mean, people have gone to the moon and gone all over the universe.
Throughout the universe. He pulled a Wallace from Wallace and Gromit. He looked and said, the moon's made of cheese. Cheese meaning money. And he said, we have to go
Which is
there.
really weird for a man who's named Broccoli to say. But
And it's so bizarre. Like, I think if they approached me with like the opportunity, it's never gonna happen. But I've fantasized in the shower that they approached me with directing a James Bond movie. And I'm like, what would I do? And my pitch would just be like slamming the Moonraker book on the table and being like, this has never been done. Let's just do this. Let's call it something different, but let's do this story. The book is awesome.
I used to do a pitch where if I directed James Bond, he would just be gay. And that would be my whole pitch.
I mean, I'm sure that you'd get a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh,
We'd
yeah.
make that.
I'm very brave. I don't have a story.
What if?
That's basically all Disney movies.
My pitch deck is just Roger Moore and Sean Connery like layered on top of each other to look like they're kissing. And I'm like,
No. You gotta do it the Disney way, where it's just a normal James Bond movie, but there's a scene where he mentions "I'm gay" like very quietly, so that it can be dubbed over in China.
It has to be a scene where he's like, "I remember my lost love, Leslie." And then for the international markets, we shoot a scene of him holding up a picture of a woman named Leslie.
Wait, don't we already have a scene like that when he says that he fucked M in Tokyo?
Yes,
he fucked M in Tokyo. And also in Skyfall, Silva is just like, well, there's a first time for everything. And he's like, what makes you think it was my first time?
Yeah, so it's been done, Troy. I'm sorry.
Okay, what if the bad guy steals a nuke? Okay, the bad guy has a nuke. And James Bond has a drinking problem.
I'm gonna nuke gays.
Oh my God! Wait, guys! James Bond escapes rehab.
Wait, we done that? That's Thunderball.
No, we haven't.
What does that have to do with James Bond being gay?
Wait. Okay, guys, I've got an idea. So the Blofeld steals 2 nukes, and James Bond has to escape a spa in order to go to the Caribbean to fight a man with an eye patch.
Clearly what we've learned is that the James Bond universe has infinite possibilities.
That are all Thunderball.
It's very much like Star Wars in that way, where it's not about the characters, it's about the world and how dense it is. And you can make any movie in the James Bond universe, and it will totally be a hit.
So anyway, is there any, actual behind-the-scenes interesting stuff apart from just like they wanted to rip off Star Wars and they made this really
Roger
quickly?
Moore had kidney stones
again.
Again?
Again.
Yeah, no. When he was in France filming. Oh, and then he was getting treated for kidney stones, and then they had to fly him to Rio on the Concorde, and then he was like delirious because he just had kidney stones, and flying to Rio from France on the Concorde is 5 hours long.
There are more stones in his kidneys than in the Western Wall.
Now imagine Roger Moore saying that. There's more stones in my kidney than in the Western Wall.
My God.
This is where he really starts looking old. This is where it starts to show that Roger Moore is maybe too old to play James Bond.
I've been saying this for like 3 movies.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is the midpoint of his tenure.
Yeah, no, this is the high point of his career is Spy Love Me and Moonraker.
It's funny. There's a scene in this. It's when he gets into the little like G-Force simulator.
Yeah,
and he says something like,
She says a 70-year-old can take 3 Gs, and I'm like, well, that's not a good sign because
I know. I'm like, Roger Moore's like 80 right now.
A 70-year-old can take 3 Gs.
Well, the trouble is there's never a 70-year-old around when you need one.
Yeah, and I'm like, you're literally 75. What are you talking? He says like,
he's not gonna make
there's
it.
never a 70-year-old when you need it, and I'm like, like you're right there.
If only there were more old people around. I'd love to meet one.
That's what they have to do. He has to meet Bernard Lee and Frederick Gray. He has to be surrounded by elder men. It's like how in Top Hat, Fred Astaire has to be surrounded by more effeminate men than himself. Like, you need to be surrounded by older men to look younger.
Yeah, he's looking around.
I do have one behind the scenes tidbit. So they were trying to get a special effects team to do the space scenes, and they went to somebody. I am guessing it was probably Douglas Trumbull, the guy who did 2001, and he was like, I want 2% of the gross and a fuck ton of money in order to do the effects. And they're just like, yeah, no, we'll just do it ourselves. And so they had the special effects team that they had there at Pinewood, and they basically did the entire thing with double, triple exposures. Actually, the space war at the very end of the movie, there were 95 pass-throughs that the film had to go through the camera to get all of the elements.
My God.
Oh my God. And it still looks like shit.
I mean, but it's charming shit. I do like
it looks
that
okay.
scene.
I don't think it looks that bad. It looks
fun.
Fucking terrible.
It looks better than the end of Thunderball.
I am hearing a lot of apology for this disgusting, evil, perverse movie.
Well,
it's not a badly made movie, except at the script level. And
This is
the
like
script,
my Live and Let Die.
Oh my
I was
God.
personally offended by this.
I thought Live and Let Die was your Live and Let Die.
I thought Moonraker was your Black Panther, Jan.
No, out of this, my Black Panther That's a good one. Which is my Black Panther?
Because you only
James
live
Bond
twice? I mean, Lewis Gilbert has never let you down, though.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true.
Except this time, I guess.
You only live twice. Gives representation to weeaboos and people who really want to be Japanese.
Other James Bond movies could have sequences that cater to weebs, but that is truly the entire movie that is most about the weeb life.
I love me that weeb life.
No, speaking of the script level, Mank was fired early on in the script level, and they threw his whole draft away.
Yep.
But then they took his opening. There was a scene with like a plane that became the opening to Octopussy from his draft for this movie. And they took the Eiffel Tower sequence from A View to a Kill from Mank's draft of this movie.
Oh.
And I'll admit it, I missed Mank a little bit in this movie.
Oh boy.
I just felt like this whole movie is
It's on par with Mank, in my opinion.
What aspect of Mank's poetry, of his
but
prose
that's
did
the
you?
thing. So the issue, we'll talk about this as we go on, but my drum I'm going to beat this episode is this movie feels like if Diamonds Are Forever thought it was a real movie. Like Mank and Guy Hamilton, when they do stupid garbage and they're just throwing it at you, they do it with like a wink and a violent nudge and a like, this isn't a real movie, you jerk. Just bullshit, eat mindless bullshit. But in this movie, Lewis Gilbert and John Barry are like trying. So they treat every individual scene like a beautiful vista. And I'm like, this is so beautiful, but this is garbage. And it should be treated like garbage.
I mean, but you are talking about the movie with the double take pigeon.
Yeah, but even that is like luxuriously slow mode, if I remember correctly, for like one brief second.
This is a movie that has a scene where Jaws finds romance.
And they play the Romeo and Juliet overture over it.
It's
like,
beautiful.
Why are we doing pretensions here?
It's also a 7-Up commercial, which, speaking of which, it makes me thirsty.
Oh my God, you brought 7-Up into space, Jake?
Oh my God, he's drinking 7-Up.
It's actually 7-Up. Man, I love 7-Up. It's the best soda there is.
It's even better in space.
It cleans your thirst.
Yes, and while we're in space, I'm going to book a flight on British Airways. Ooh.
Oh.
Yes.
You know what's weird? Why is British Airways and 7-Up, why are those promotions in the same scene?
Because they had to pack them in.
Well,
because it was a reshoot.
Part of the same conglomerate? I don't know.
British Airways is owned by 7-Up and Dr. Pepper.
Oh, fun fact. Did you know the 7-Up film series was directed by Michael Apted, who would go on to direct The World Is Not Enough?
That's true. I did know that.
Full circle.
All right, good.
But the 7-Up movies aren't as good as 7-Up the drink.
No, I would agree with that.
It's cool and refreshing and delicious.
Yeah.
I'm going to put my 7-Up right next to my mic so you could hear the bubbles.
We love it so much that we would love it to get in touch with the 7-Up Corporation.
I just would love to know how they have a drink that tastes lemon, but also lime.
Groundbreaking stuff.
Why is it 7-Up?
Have you ever heard 7 Down, 7-Up?
But why? What does 7-Up have to do with lemon lime?
Actually, screw it. I'm looking this up.
Well, while you're looking it up, another fun fact about behind the scenes of this movie is that
7-Up was sold in 7-ounce bottles, which is technically 1 more ounce than Coca-Cola and the majority of other soft drinks came in at the time.
Well, joke's on you. This is a 20 fluid ounce bottle, so...
Holy shit, it should be called 20-Up.
I know. Anyway, so due to new tax laws in Britain, Albert Broccoli left
That's
the
always
UK.
a good way to start a sentence.
He left the UK to move to Beverly Hills, and they completely relocated most of production to France.
Even though it had been written to take place in California.
Yes.
Yeah, and they have a line about why it looks like France.
Which bothered me so much.
Wasn't Roger Moore also a tax exile?
Everyone in the Bond movies is a tax exile.
Yeah.
Everyone who was British that worked on a Bond movie ended up living somewhere else because they didn't want to pay the crown.
With Roger Moore, it was because, like, the income tax for unearned income was, like, something crazy, like 95%. And Roger Moore got pissed off that he couldn't make money by doing nothing. So like he just left the UK.
To be fair, the most English response to being told you can't make money by doing nothing.
That's what I said. It's a pretty boss move in my opinion.
Yeah, him and Sean Connery just running away to the Caribbean. Though Roger Moore did come back to try to get the Olympics, I believe, a couple times.
He tried to participate in the Olympics?
Yes, he did the slow man walk.
And he lost.
Surprisingly.
He broke his hip.
Yeah, Moonraker.
Oh, that was the anecdote. He was in exile, so they...
Yeah, that's it. That's the anecdote.
Okay.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else in this movie. We'll get to it as they come up, I think. But yeah, that whole the script change from California to France in California like annoyed Christopher Wood so much that like he quit.
He quit movies.
He died.
Oh
He's
no!
done.
He went back to writing porn novels.
Is that why he's called Christopher Wood?
No, his porn name was Christopher Hardon.
Oh, that makes more sense.
But his mother's name was Molly Goodhead. That was a tribute to his mother.
Well, I was going to say, speaking of...
That's so sweet.
You know, I may end up defending the screenplay, but that might be the weak link because we had Good Night. We had Good Thighs, right? Did I hallucinate that?
Yeah, Mary Good Thighs.
No, that was Mary Good Night. Good Thighs was wait, wasn't that was Casino Royale? Oh fuck!
Yeah, that was Casino Royale,
The music. No. Good Thighs was Casino Royale.
I did hallucinate it.
I know.
You can't sing Casino Royale in space. It's taking up our oxygen.
Good Thighs was fucking Jacqueline Bisset.
It was.
Yeah,
that's right. And now we have Good Head.
Wait, who was the one in Man with the Golden Gun? It was like Munch
That
Me.
was Good Night.
No, Munch Me Cutie.
Oh, Fook Me.
Now your name is
Fook me.
You kiss your mother with that mouth?
Oh yeah. Lick Me. Fuck. What was it?
No.
Well, don't mind if I do, Jake.
Wait, is it?
Like
Guys, it doesn't count in space.
Well, yeah, let's just get into
Yeah, we're getting into it. Did you guys notice that the guy who plays the RAF pilot, that's the same guy who plays one of the submarine commanders in Spy Who Loved Me?
Yeah, there's a lot of reuse of people in the more
I can see that
stuff. So yeah, so the RAF pilot is flying a space shuttle to England, and it goes kablooey. That's our big open.
Well, they hijack it in midair.
Not a plane, but a spaceship. Kind of like the beginning of Thunderball.
A space shuttle, which was cutting edge at the time.
And much like You Only Live Twice, we open with a spaceship, but not in space. So we're kind of splitting the difference between a couple of different openers. And I guess maybe it is worth noting, as you said, Troy, that the space shuttle was in development at this point. This movie came out in 1979. The space shuttle didn't launch with people in it until 2 years later. So this was science fact. That's the science fact.
This is science fact.
We're not science fiction. We're in fact science fact.
Here's the thing: they were hoping to release the movie at the same time as when the space shuttle would be launched, but then it turns out that they delayed it by 2 years. So they were a little bit early.
They were just too current.
Well, that intro is the most heartbreaking aspect of this movie. Because you're like, hell yeah, this is gonna be awesome, and then you're like,
the intro's fantastic.
It's incredible.
The intro is up there for me on my top list. It's in that top.
So
5
I think we're mostly talking about the skydiving.
The next scene, yes.
Well, yeah, because Bernard Lee is like, "Where's Bond?" And they're like, "He's in Africa," which is a reference to a Roger Moore film that he had made just before this called The Southern Geese.
And asks, is 007 back from the African job? And Moneypenny says, he's on his last leg.
Is 007 back from that African job?
He's on his last leg, sir.
Cut to Bond's hand caressing a woman's leg, and he's making out with her on a plane.
And like that close-up, like, his hand looks so old.
Yeah. Well, his outfit in that scene makes him look like a grandpa. Like, he has like the turtleneck and the navy sports coat and stuff.
The woman's legs are so smooth. It looks like one of those like pictures that you see in a museum of like an old person holding a baby or something.
I like how Jan goes to like an art institute and he sees like a picture of like an old person holding a baby.
The first thing that comes into his mind is Moonraker.
Classic Lewis Gilbert.
This is Lewis Gilbert all over it.
So yeah, Roger Moore's looking pretty gross. But then it's then like what happened? Like the guy in the mustache shows up and he's
yeah, the guy with the mustache, the pilot of the plane, is like, haha, joke's on you. We're gonna just dump you here without a parachute, lol. But then fight breaks out and Bond is fighting with the guy. They open up the door. Bond is fighting with the guy some more and he's just like, I'm gonna throw you off the plane. Wait a second, he has a parachute. But then he's pushed out of the plane by Jaws!
Yeah,
Jaws is back!
Jaws is back.
I really hope they don't turn him into a joke.
That's the best part of this movie.
The man with metal teeth should not be a joke.
I have very mixed opinions about Jaws in this movie.
When he's a joke.
Oh, I'm 1000% on board with how Jaws is treated in this movie.
I love Jaws. This movie makes him.
Yeah. On one hand, I'm like, in this the Spy Who Loved Me stuff where like he was scary and kind of funny, and then this is going straight into comedy, but he's so fucking funny in this that I almost don't care.
It's the same as James Bond. Like you can have a serious James Bond, like a psychopath murderer, and then you can have a funny James Bond, a psychopath murderer.
They turned Jaws into like freaking Wile E. Coyote meets Sheriff J.W. Pepper in this movie.
No, but like I have two words for you. Richard, what's his last name? Keel.
Yeah, Richard.
I took one of your words and made it my own.
Richard is so fucking good in this.
He's having fun. He's having a ball.
Oh,
I'll give that to Richard. He's like one of the only two actors who wants to actually be here in this movie.
The faces that he makes to camera are so fucking good. They're so expressive. Like you're almost looking at a cartoon.
Yes.
I lost it. The scene like where they're in the river in the Amazon.
Yeah, the waterfall.
And the waterfall. And like James Bond just starts flying away and Jaws just gives a look like, what the fuck am I even looking at?
And then he's like, and then he mugs it when he's about to go over the waterfall, and then it gets to like the dummy shot.
Yeah,
all of them falling.
I love the dummy shot because he's in a boat with like 6 other people, but the only dummy you can see visible is like Richard Keel's giant dummy.
Like, and it's such an inspired choice that the 7-foot tall man with metal teeth is like the only person that's recognizing that this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Until by the end of the movie, he's just as fed up as us, and he's like, I'm gonna go Darth Vader now.
That's right.
But anyway,
anticipating.
So anyway, let's get back to this amazing stunt. Probably one of the best movie stunts.
Oh, incredible. Even though you can clearly tell that this is not Roger Moore.
Oh my God. Like, the people look, like, the guy does not look like Roger Moore. Yeah, the Jaws guy does not look like Jaws at all.
No.
And you can totally see that it's like a tear through clothing because the seam is so big on the back. So you know that there's like a parachute under it. But I don't give a shit.
Gliding,
no, it's so
they're
fucking
gliding
cool.
through the air. They're wrestling. They're fighting over parachutes. Like, you're like, are they gonna hit the ground? Like, it's terrifying and exhilarating.
Yeah, no,
and
it's
fun.
generally like the fact that you can see that it's real and that they're heading towards the fucking ground. It's insane, and like all the fight coordination. You know, I gotta imagine that this was some inspiration for Mission Impossible.
Oh yeah,
they took 88 skydives to shoot this. It took 88 skydives to shoot this scene.
And you know what's even fucking crazier is that they're trying to figure out how to do it because they knew they were going to shoot the movie in Panavision, and they're like, how the fuck are we gonna strap a Panavision camera to a guy's head because it's going to be so heavy and the guy's going to break his neck once the parachute gets deployed. And apparently Michael G. Wilson was in Paris and he went to like some random secondhand camera shop and he found an anamorphic lens that was made out of plastic. And he's like, what the fuck is this? Michael G. Wilson, the producer.
Yes.
And he's like, what is this? He's like, oh yeah, that was like some experimental anamorphic lens.
Whoa.
Nobody used it. And then he's like, Fuck yeah. And so they took it and they made a rig to put it on the camera, and they used that to lighten the load a little bit.
Science fact.
Science fact.
We're not science fiction. We're, in fact, science fact.
Have we mentioned, if this is the first time we're mentioning Michael Wilson, we have to mention that Michael G. Wilson, a longtime Bond producer, his father was Lewis Wilson, the first actor to ever play Batman in a movie.
Yes.
In the 1943 Batman.
Wait, but is it? I thought he was the bastard son of Albert Broccoli. No, he was his stepson,
No,
right?
he's stepson, yeah.
Yeah, so his mom left Batman and married the alleged murderer of the founder of the Three Stooges and beloved James Bond producer Cubby Broccoli.
Yeah, that makes more sense. I thought that Albert Broccoli went around like impregnating women, like trying to create like his successor.
No.
We are not alleging that.
We're not alleging that, Jam.
I would never suggest that, but I do see Albert Broccoli as kind of like an ego from Guardians of the Galaxy 2 kind of creature.
Yeah, I can see that. You know, they say if you go down to Bristol, you look on a certain street, all the kids look like Albert Broccoli, but none of them.
Bristol is some sort of Boys in Brazil experiment to create the next star big Albert Broccoli.
So are you saying that like that the plant broccoli is actually like the ego plant from Guardians 2?
Yeah.
That he's using to spread his seed?
That's why kids hate eating broccoli, because they get impregnated by Albert Broccoli. When you eat it.
You know, like I just imagine like Albert Broccoli sitting down with Michael Wilson at the opera and telling him the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise, implying that he's his dad.
And then the final thing he says is, "This is not science fiction. This
It's
is science
fact.
We're, in fact, science fact.
Where can I learn this science? Not from a scientist.
Oh boy.
Not from Ian Fleming, that dumbass.
So he gets the thing from
He steals the
Jaws,
parachute
and
from
Jaws
the guy.
plummets
to a circus.
into a circus, which establishes Lewis Gilbert's penchant for people falling into funny things. Because in the previous film, they go off the cliff on the road and he lands in a barn. And then later in this film, don't they land in a...
Oh, the guy lands in a piano and then his underwear is showing.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. That kills him.
And not only Jaws goes through the circus tent, lands in the net, and the title sequence begins on his crotch.
Yeah, the graphic of Jaws landing in the circus.
We have one of the best intros in any of these movies, followed by like one of the worst transitions into the main title.
Yes, because it's like this weird. It's like the still that like spins around and then it lands on his metallic crotch.
Yeah.
And then you see like all the clowns and the trapeze artists like flying through the air, and you're just like, oh, this is the opening title scene. You're just like
to the space movie.
Yeah,
to the space
That's
movie.
The moment. Again, going into this movie, I was ready to reevaluate it and be like, maybe I'm too hard on Moonraker, and then that happened, and I'm like, nope.
I'm like, sold.
No.
We'll get to my thoughts on Moonraker.
I'll Die on This Hill. The song
sucks.
Best Shirley Bassey James Bond song for sure.
Wrong.
No,
by a
Incorrect.
mile.
Not even Shirley. Did you know Shirley Bassey did not perform this song live until 2005 because she hated it that much?
Wow.
Well, she's a fucking idiot then. This song is wonderful.
Well, it's just the history. Like, this song could have been so amazing. So the original idea was they were going to ask Frank Sinatra to not only record this song, but also to play Hugo Drax. And I'm like, why do we not live in that timeline? But he passed. Then, like, on the song, he didn't die for another 20 years. But
okay, yeah, I was going to say that.
Then
they asked Kate Bush to record the song. And I'm like, oh, that would have been good too.
And I'm running up that hill, and I'm going to that Moonraker.
Running up that hill.
Moonraker.
Them heavy people got me in a hard place.
Yes.
And then
and I
they
love
asked Johnny
this song.
Mathis, and he was going to do it. And then he was like, no.
What's wrong with this song?
This song sucks, Jan. I can't even sing it.
Just like the moon,
I don't think the song sucks. It just is the worst of the Shirley Bassey songs.
I sing it in the shower.
It's okay, and I think probably its greatest accomplishment is they resisted the temptation, because I'm like, they had to have just thought about, like, John Barry sat down and he was like, Moonraker.
Yeah.
They had the temptation.
Oh yeah,
and they
that was there.
resisted the temptation.
No, they don't even have like it's not even like the end part to a part of the chorus. Moonraker. It's like, just like the Moonraker goes.
Yeah, Moonraker. He wants love.
You want to see how you like this song? This may or may not make it into the final edit, but what I do is when I'm in the shower, I tuck my penis and balls in between my legs.
Where is this going, Jan?
And I use the shampoo bottle as the mic, and I pretend I'm Shirley Bassey, and I feel wonderful.
Why do you need to tuck your dick and balls into yourself to be Shirley Bassey?
You have to do that every time you sing a song sung by a woman, Jan?
When you were singing Kate Bush right now, were you tucking your dick and balls in between
I don't want to say whenever I tuck my dick and balls, but I'll just admit for this one song, it's surprisingly effective.
Why? Does it make you hit those notes?
Melissa doesn't get angry at me often, but when I do that in the shower, she doesn't appreciate it. I like the song.
We're not putting any of that in the episode, right?
I'm editing it, so who knows?
Yeah. So the movie starts, and like, guess what, James? Don't go to England.
Yeah.
Taxes are too high. We're gonna go to California.
We're back to
for
LAX.
one shot.
But it's Paris in California.
Well, they fly. They have a nice 5-minute helicopter ride from LAX to the Mojave Desert, and in the middle of the Mojave Desert is a French countryside manor. It's a beautiful matte painting of a French countryside manor.
Painting.
You know what's so funny? I never noticed the matte painting until watching it a couple years ago at the New Bev on the big screen.
That's right. We should mention, perhaps, that yes, you and me, Jake, witnessed this thanks to our peers in the podcasting business, QT and Avery, programmed Moonraker.
that was one hell of a double feature.
And Firefox. What a double. Yeah, at the New Bev here in sunny Hollywood. And what a time we had. I will say, yeah, I think on film, the matte painting wasn't quite as obvious. Watching it just now on Blu-ray, yeah, that is a piece of helicopter window, like 1 foot in front of a matte painting, and they're just holding the camera. And that's a shot.
But James Bond has been called in to investigate the stolen American space shuttle. So he's going to LA to meet Hugo Drax. And again, originally this took place in California, so they had James Mason all set to play Hugo Drax. And
wait, yeah, that would have been cool.
Yeah,
James Mason was going to be Hugo Drax?
Yes.
Yeah, he was going to be Hugo Drax. And then they were like,
Mr. Bond, I presume you're some sort of homosexual, aren't you?
Mr. Bond, I don't know what you're doing in my living room at this time of hour.
This isn't going to lead to a very happy conclusion, Mr. Bond.
Well, Mr. Bond, I was Captain Nemo once.
You're jealous, Leonard. You're jealous of me and Mr. Bond.
Bond? Michael Lonsdale.
AKA Tall Peter Dinklage.
Oh my God, he is? He is Tall Peter Dinklage.
He is Tall Peter Dinklage. He also, Film Crit Hulk, like, ruined this movie for me before I even saw it, because he's like, he also looks like Droopy, the dog.
You know what? I'm happy.
He does kind of.
He does look.
Yeah.
And the worst part is they apparently told him to talk like James Mason, which is why he's also doing a James Mason impression. Well, wait. What was I going to say? Michael Lonsdale also had the saddest love life of any celebrity I've ever heard of. He fell in love with Delphine Seyrig, who is in Donkey Skin. She's Jean Dielman in The Greatest Movie of All Time. Jean Dielman, address name. And he fell in love with her in acting school, but she never loved him back. But he swore never to love anyone else but her. And she died, I don't want to say super young, but kind of young. Like he outlived her and he never dated. He never married. He just had this unrequited love for Delphine Seyrig.
Oh.
And I'm like,
what a loser.
What a pussy.
This is the saddest sim. James Bond, the ultimate Chad, must go up against the ultimate incel for the sake of the world.
Yeah.
And I have to say, Michael Lonsdale he's one of my favorite Bond villains.
Oh, really? He's one of the worst ones in my opinion.
Yeah, I really wanted to give him a chance. You guys tore Stromberg to pieces, and this guy's just boring Stromberg.
This is just a repeat of Stromberg, but he's so boring.
No, but he's cool.
What the fuck?
He doesn't even have a good one-liner.
Me and Troy are forming an alliance here. I can already sense it.
Me and Jan are the anti-Moonraker.
It's Troy, Jan, Paul, and I for Michael Lonsdale, because Michael Lonsdale is fucking menacing.
What?
He looks interesting. He has a very interesting face. And he's got his little hat.
Give you that.
And the way he gives his eugenic speeches is fucking creepy. I love him. He's great.
He's always stooping. It's a good time. He's always in these enormous rooms, and
all of this is the praise that we gave to Stromberg last week. This is the same villain
Lonsdale
with the same
is cooler
plan.
Than
you just like the
Stromberg.
beard and the jumpsuit.
And his voice. And the way he plays him
like
is
the
just,
actor.
I don't know. I find him more interesting than Stromberg.
He was putting me to sleep, to be honest.
Just the way he says, "Let me put you out of my misery." Like,
it's fun.
I was like, putting me out of my misery. Please point that gun at me.
I was like, put me in California, France, or wherever we're at. Like,
my God. Well, yes, he's drinking. I bet he had his California champagne in his chateau, brought brick by brick to the Mojave Desert.
I didn't know what was going on. I've watched this movie twice. I just found out about this weird Paris, France tax deal thing today. Every time I watch a movie, I'm like, why? So he has a servant named Chang. He lives in a French palace, and he lives in California.
And
Chang
Chang dresses in a karate gi.
Yeah, and I'm like, where am I? What is this? Is just a grab bag of stuff.
I don't know why they
There's no sense of
did
place.
this. Why not make it take place in France? That's what I always. But I'm also like, but then we wouldn't get the matte painting and like the jarring cut from LAX to the Mojave Desert to France.
Matte painting.
We can cheat this most beautiful palace in France for San Bernardino.
This is all the way out near Palm Springs.
It's so fucking weird that James Bond's whole thing is going to exotic, nice locations, and they're actually in France, and they're insisting that it's in California. And then we have like soaring over California ass like matte painting rendition.
Hey, I resent that. You're saying
that's right. And they play. I mean, this is a trope now that like half the time, he's got to go to the dumpy American West.
It's a proud Bond situation, and I know that we were saying that we were kind of sad that Guy Hamilton was no more, but his spirit lives on through this movie. This was
kind of for some reason, Well, now we have like a movie that is well produced, has a lot of the Guy Hamilton gags and a lot of the downsides, because that's my main thing with this movie is that it's just so...
It's beautifully shot. Like, Louis Gilbert directs the hell out of it. The problem is he's polishing a turd. It's not The Spy Who Loved Me, because The Spy Who Loved Me had a story.
I guess the headline for me is like, Spy Who Loved Me was the closest we got to a real movie, as we discussed last week.
Yes.
This is schlock, but this is completely my kind of schlock. Like when he just opens the door and finds two, what are they, like Franciscan monks or something doing karate. He flips the guy over and then does the sign of the cross.
That's incredible.
And he's dressed as Clint Eastwood, and he's just kind of does not react, closes the door, and we move on.
And what's even crazier is that this is a monastery that they shot at. It's supposed to be outside of Rio, but they shot it in Italy for some reason. I don't know why.
And then Lois Maxwell has a desk in the monastery.
And then they go to a Mexican pyramid that's actually in Mexico.
Yes.
And it's like, and that all is in the Brazilian part of the movie, which Oh,
No, okay,
God.
maybe here I'll disagree with Troy because I think.
Oh, we're skipping over the pigeon.
Well, no, yeah, we're skipping around, but
Is it though? I'm lost.
I just want to say that
I need my mom.
This movie is mostly boring and awful to me, but there's one big chunk where I think it's wonderful, and it's from where they're cowboys to the fucking waterfall.
Mm.
That whole chunk is amazing.
Really?
That's good stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really? That's where I'm like, I'm bored. And
Well,
I'm bored
it's funny
throughout.
because that chunk is like, I mean, it's almost like shot for shot the Egypt bit in the previous movie.
Yeah.
Except it's a little funnier because there are people doing karate and then blessing them.
Yeah. It's those moments that are few and far between. Like it's like when the jokes come in, they're fucking great and I'm laughing my ass off. But then yeah, there's just large chunks of the movie that you're just like, okay, get on with it. Okay, move on. Yep, he's roaming around.
Most of this movie, and this you can see very clearly, is what you were talking about, Troy, the other day, which is the kind of James Bond movie that you don't like, which is just like James Bond goes into a room and he does some talking.
He walks here.
And then he goes to another room and he does some talk. Like that's most of this movie.
Yeah.
Except all the rooms are ridiculous, and you're like, why are we in this room? What is going on here? So he goes from the like
he
goes from the French castle to a secret government lab where an American who lives in America, Dr. Holly Goodhead, played by Lois Chiles,
Lois
Chiles, who got the role because she sat next to Louis Gilbert on an airplane.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, well, you weren't in Spy Who Loved Me. You want to be in this movie? And she's like, yeah, but I'll be pregnant, so I won't really care, and I won't really fully commit to a performance. And he's like,
and
okay.
Yet I may argue that her performance is at least on par with Our Lady last week.
Get the hell out, boy.
No, okay. Now,
yeah.
What? She is dead behind the eyes.
Gloves are off. She's much better. Her sleepwalking through this part is better than Barbara Bach in the last movie.
You're turning me into the dark side. I'm agreeing with Troy. I'm seeing. I'm on the side of the Joseph Campbell monomyth now.
I swear to God, if you morons come to me and tell me, if you're telling me Christmas Jones is not believable as a scientist, but you buy Holly Goodhead,
but I
who's
enjoy
just like,
it.
Holly Goodhead is
She's doing nothing.
She's an awful fucking Bond girl. Everything that she says that she's supposed to be like excited about or like scared, she just says in the most monotone. She completely kills the climax. Like completely.
Exactly. She's so confident. Just her persona is so confident, though.
It's not confident. Like James Bond is shooting.
It's boredom.
He's shooting at the fucking Moonrakers, and she's just going like, you hit it.
No, there is some of that.
No.
She's just standing next to him for like 2 hours. Like, I like the character on paper. Scientist, CIA agent. They try to do the repartee from Spy Who Loved Me, but she just is not invested. And Roger Moore has to do all the emotional heavy lifting.
No, I'd argue that I like the performance. I think the writing it's harder to make work because they're already like on the same team, basically. There's not really conflict in the script. I think the character's written worse but performed better.
This basically is if Felix Leiter was a woman.
Yeah. If they had to bang in space.
Which in my pitch for James Bond.
One day we will get the movie that ends with M watching a TV of Bond and Felix.
Full penetration.
I think he's attempting reentry.
I think he's attempting reentry, sir.
Yes, but he meets Dr. Goodhead, and one of the, again, I think this is why it's my kind of schlock, is like, much like that movie from 1967, one-liners that don't make sense, and the characters within the scene are kind of like, don't know how to react to what he's saying, where he's just like,
oh yeah, doesn't
woman.
James Bond say it's like
a woman?
A woman.
A woman.
Bond is such now I'm rewatching these Roger Moore movies, and it's like he is like, you know, like the nice Bond and cool, but then he's also like the most condescending dick, because like one after the other he partners up with any one of his like female like coworkers, and he's such an asshole for absolutely no reason to them.
Oh, he straight up hates women.
Yeah.
As opposed to the Connery James Bond, who loved women and treated them as
No.
equal.
I mean, they're all fucking monster. But Roger
Yeah,
Moore,
like,
just
he's
like
James Bond.
every turn that he gets, he demeans women.
Roger Moore is just very, very condescending, like all of the time. Like he's just like so just a woman. Ooh, like I'm just like, and it breaks the nice Bond that we're so used to.
Well, the nice Bond that they establish in the last movie, where he's nicer to women in The Spy Who Loved Me, but then they try to make up for it by having him murder more people, like for unprovoked.
Yeah.
Anyway, but we meet Goodhead.
He gets into the 5G machine, which we already talked about. But two things about that scene for me. Again, it's this movie in a microcosm. Worthless. Why does he get into a machine that someone could potentially kill him with? It serves nothing for his mission. He could easily not get into the machine.
And they don't even explain what his cover is in this movie, which is kind of nuts.
No,
he just shows
it's
up.
incredible. Like if
why does he
if
do
you're
it?
a spy and they're like the bad guys like get into this thing, wouldn't you be like, no, thank you? Like,
like, why is he there?
It's not even a bad guy. It's Dr. Goodhead that's just like, hey, do you want to try this out?
Well, yeah, for a woman, he'll do it.
All right, lady science woman, I'll go into your little contraption.
Yeah. And there is while he's going on this G thing, like the wrinkles in his skin start like stretching,
and his eyes are like bloodshot.
They did it for real.
I've talked in the past about how Roger Moore, part of why I like his Bond is because you see him lose his cool in fights, but this is the moment where it goes too far and you go, this is a helpless old man.
Just put him out of his misery.
He's taking the G's. There's real tension
he starts
there.
to look like the chocolate woman from SpongeBob. They're like, I remember.
Chocolate. I remember when they first invented chocolate. Sweet, sweet chocolate. I always hated it.
I remember when they invented 5G. I hope it doesn't go to 70.
And I have to note, like, you know, he got his little dart gadget, which is eventually how he saves himself.
Yes.
But the way it's edited is he's remembering that Q gave him the gadget. But the way it's edited, they've established that he's getting closer to death. And his life is flashing before his eyes. And the only thing he sees is grumpy Q. And I like to imagine that he's so afraid of death because he knows Q's going to be waiting for him in hell.
I fucking lost it. Like,
there's two things he sees. He sees, because we skipped the briefing scene, but he sees him shooting the dart gun into the painting of King William III that Bernard Lee has on his wall, which Bernard Lee's pissed about because he apparently played William III in a movie. And then, yes, he sees Q as his life.
Well, I was also, I fucking lost it because I was watching it with Melissa and she was like, oh, that's so sweet. The last thing that he remembers is Q. And I'm like, I don't think
it is sweet. It's confirmed. Moneypenny doesn't pop up at all. It's like M and Q.
Yeah, just one true
Well,
love.
those are the people that are the closest to death that he knows. So,
we'll see him on the other
They're just
side.
intercutting his wrinkled face being contorted, Q looking grumpy, and a painting of a horse's ass, literally.
Yes.
And that's when Bond's like, I can't die like this. And then he shoots the guy with the
He shoots
dart.
the controls.
And then he goes back and
sneaks into the French lady's room.
Played by Corinne Cleary, star of the erotic film The Story of O. And yes, you're saying she was cast from an erotic film. Did they dub her? Yes, she is dubbed.
Hey, we're back to the dubbing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know these movies are stupid, but the fucking Bond camera.
I like
with
the
his
Bond camera. It's so stupid.
He's got his merch.
property of Peter Parker ass camera.
Do you think the same company that made the 007 camera made the 007 playing card?
Probably.
Yeah.
It was Salvador
It's
Dali.
like, you're the it's like, my dude, you're the worst spy ever.
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah, he gets in bed with the helicopter lady, and it kind of it made me think of Aquaman actually, because she can't read. She says, my mom gave me a list of things I shouldn't do, but don't worry, I can't read. I'm like, damn, you're good at it, at flying that helicopter. But I guess that explains why she can't fly that space shuttle in the end.
Yeah, because she's stupid.
Yeah, wait, Corn Cleary, who plays Corinne Dufour, who again was supposed to be a surfer chick, but now she's a French lady. Even though she's dubbed, I find her more charismatic than.
Oh, 1000%. 1000%.
I wish she had been the main Bond girl.
She has way more personality.
I like Lois Chiles better, but I like her too.
You people are insane.
All right. Yeah, I'm with Jan on this one.
Then we get to Venice, and I started thinking, like, I remember.
Wait, no. What about the quail hunt
and the dogs?
The quail hunt.
Oh yeah, the fucking quail hunt.
Where he has a stupid little hat.
He's got a hat. He shoots the guy.
Yeah, there's a guy in the tree. Which, okay, so I was thinking this. So there's a quail hunt where Hugo Drax is trying to trick James Bond into getting shot like Dick Cheney's friend, but by an assassin in a tree. But then James Bond shoots the guy in the face in the tree, much like Dick Cheney. And what's his one-liner?
Fuck you.
Well, the guy says you missed, and he said, did I? That's what he says.
But here's what I'm thinking. Why doesn't Hugo Drax call the police on James Bond for murdering that guy? Because then the police could just arrest James Bond for murder because where's the evidence that that guy was aiming at him? And then boom.
Troy, they're in a French chateau in the middle of the Mojave Desert. There is no law out there.
It is once again a scene that tries to replicate the golf scene from Goldfinger, and it's a total fucking skip.
Yeah.
There's also the horns that they do to summon at the end of the quail hunt. And they're playing the first couple bars of Zarathustra. Because space.
Yep.
Is that when he sicks the dogs on the French lady?
Yeah.
Well, that comes right after.
Okay.
But I was going to say that. I mean, I remember seeing that in the new Bev, and I'm like,
that scene looks great.
The most beautiful scene in the franchise. It looks like
Come and See.
Right.
It looks like Legend is what it looks like.
No, but like the shallow depth of field as she's running through the woods.
Shafts
It
of
looks
light
incredible.
going through the woods.
I like Jan. Jan is like, this is so beautiful, it looks like Come and See. And Paul's like, it looks like Legend.
Yeah, Legend is a pretty movie. Come and See is a good movie.
I know. I wanted to see it. I still want to see Legend, and they watched it without me. And this is one of the 6 worst things these boys have ever done to me.
I lived with Jake. I don't want to tell you what's in the top 5.
Uh-oh. But yeah, it's a good scene. Definitely a standout. And then we get to Venice.
And then that's when the whole world gets wet.
Oh yeah.
Well, yes, I was remembering an interview from a young director of the time called Steven Spielberg, and he was saying that Moonraker was one of his favorite Bond movies up to that point, and he really wanted to direct a Bond movie. And that made a lot of sense to me, because then when he made his own Bond movies, the Indiana Jones trilogy, he had parachute stuff in Temple of Doom, and then in Last Crusade they go to Venice and they fight in gondolas. So,
and in the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull,
yes,
they go off that
waterfall. The waterfall.
And in Munich, he casts the guy from this movie. Anyway, go on.
Did you know that Sean Connery is in The Last Crusade?
Who?
What?
Sean Connery's in The Last Crusade.
But he's from the bad James Bond
no, not from Moonraker, the good one.
Yeah.
Listeners at home can't see this, but Paul's just like silently smiling while we call Moonraker the good one.
But yeah, I mean, the sequence in Venice is one of the times in this movie where I kind of wake up.
I kind of wake up, and then I'm like, why am I awake? This is insulting.
It's so funny. The coffin, the funeral.
It's pretty good.
I love the dead guy who comes out with throwing knives. And he throws the knife back at him.
Yes, they're on gondolas.
But there's something about even in these fun sequences. I mean, I guess that's what you like about it, Paul. But like, there's something that just permeates in this movie that just screams of we haphazardly like assembled this in a weekend. It's just like,
like the logic doesn't flow for me in the gondola sequence.
Well, no.
It totally, this whole movie just totally feels like, oh my God, Star Wars came out. We need to do a space James Bond movie.
But it has nothing to do with Star Wars. That's, I think, the movie's most damning thing. If it was all about space, it would be fine, but it's not.
Well, that's the thing. If it was just a ripoff of Star Wars, it would be way less interesting and less funny.
Yeah.
But it would be a better movie. Now it's just the usual James Bond grab bag, and then they put a little Star Wars layer on at the end.
No, I agree with Troy. I would have just had the whole thing in space, but the whole thing feels so rushed, so lazy, so nonsensical.
I would call it rush. I would not call it lazy because this movie was the most expensive Bond movie up until that point. Like, this
That's
cost
insane.
as much as like the first 6 James Bond movies put together.
No, but I'm saying, like, there's no planning.
Well, they were just like, we want to go to these locations. They had like 3 fucking units all over the world going like, we need to get here.
Why? They should have just done like one good location.
Because Broccoli wanted to make this science fact, god damn it.
We're not science fiction. We're, in fact, science fact.
This has nothing to do with science fiction.
He wanted to explore the entire universe.
Yeah, no, basically the entire Bond universe.
Like I'm watching this movie, and James Bond's in a gondola, and there's a guy pedaling the gondola, and then that guy pops up out of the coffin, and they start shooting at each other, and the guy who's rowing James Bond's gondola is shot. Then James Bond presses a button, and the gondola becomes a motorboat.
We're not science fiction. We're, in fact, science fact.
So was the guy who was pedaling the gondola, did he know it was a boat? Did he die thinking that he was rowing a normal gondola? Or was he in on it that he was just covered?
I have no idea.
All these questions make it funnier to me.
Yeah.
But I don't really care because
my
this is a
God.
movie where Bond goes to space. The only sin that this movie has is
That's the only good part.
That's the only boring part to me, actually.
Yeah, no, I hate the space stuff.
That's like the only good part of the movie. Troy will be the lone man on his hill and says he likes the science fiction stuff in Moonraker. Everything else is a mess.
You're here for the science fact, I understand. But throwing the knife at the coffin guy, something about throwing a knife and picking up a knife and throwing it back is always, like at the end of Big Trouble in Little China, it's the funniest thing of all time, and this is similar.
I love all the stuff in the gondola, and I think Troy likes the science fiction, which is the space stuff. We like the science fact, which is the gondolas and
the gondola
and the double take pigeon.
craft.
Yeah.
Yes.
I want to point out, I think Paul just likes the knife getting thrown back because he was raised in Australia. So this is like a
You think that's a knife? This is a knife. Yeah, that's what I said to myself as I watched this scene.
As he was grilling shrimp on the
yeah, when Paul watches this, he gets that like Ratatouille flashback of being back in Australia.
When he was once a young boy roaming the Australian desert.
Mother's knife, that's right. Yes, he rides the gondola through the main square of Venice, turns into a hovercraft, and everyone reacts.
Which is totally not a ripoff of the Spy Who Loved Me beach scene. It totally doesn't even have the
wine
same
glass.
guy with the same bottle of wine.
The wine guy comes back, our favorite character.
Paul, take it away. You've been waiting for this moment for 2 months.
I've been waiting for this entire thing. He goes through the main square, reaction shot city, all the Italians, and there's a dog that does a little look too, and then we get a shot of a pigeon that is just a shot of a pigeon turning its head, and they do, I mean, maybe this is a Star Wars thing too, what they did with the Tusken Raider moving his arms,
rocking it
because
back
that
and
was
forth.
created in post, rocking it back and forth, and they do exactly the same thing with the pigeon. So there was a shot of a pigeon doing a double take. There might even be silly music playing under it too.
Yeah, no, there's the
and much like The Spy Who Loved Me as well, it's like the climax is not about the tension of what's happening in the chase. The chase has been done, and everyone's just reacting to what the fuck is that guy riding on?
Just blowing
and then
his
he
cover
just moves
in the middle
on,
of it.
you know.
No, can we talk about, so this whole sequence ends, and the next shot, it cuts to night, and James Bond, for some reason, is wearing a little gondola hat, and he's like rowing a gondola, and he wasn't wearing the hat before. Why does he have a gondola hat?
So that he can do the hat toss.
Yes, well, he's in disguise.
We're doing that again?
He's in Venice. He needs to dress like the locals, like a gondola man.
It's a nod to the past.
Is it though?
I think so. He does the hat thing, and I think they're starting to realize that just like this motherfucker has no chemistry with Lois Maxwell.
No, Roger Moore said that him and Lois Maxwell, because they went to school together, they felt like siblings. Yeah, they felt like siblings, and I hate to say it, but yeah, that's basically where we're at now, where, Moneypenny, I fell out of an airplane. I fell off a waterfall. And she's like, okay.
Yeah, she's like, yeah, right. Then I'm like, come on, dude. Like,
no, there's scenes, there's no structure to those scenes, like when he meets up with Moneypenny, because it used to be like a moment where like it ends with like a joke. It just goes like, James, you look like you fell off a mountain. Well, funny you should say that. I fell off a gondola. Go to the next room.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, like he just doesn't care.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, they changed the. I keep charting like how much can she be bothered to smile in these movies. In the first few Roger Moore's, she cracks a little at the end. You know, they give her some kind of line or something where it's like, "Oh, you rascal." In this one, I don't know. I guess they cut a check. She's smiling throughout the earlier scene, but it plays in a wide. It's not the most romantic chemistry.
You listeners at home can't see this, but Paul has a giant chart behind him that says Lois Maxwell needs to smile more. What's that broad doing? And he's like keeping track of all of how much.
8 seconds, 19 seconds, 40 seconds. Who's to say?
Maybe that's what we should rate at the end instead of his mole.
Ranking Lois Maxwell's amount of smile screen time.
That's what Paul's thinking.
Yes.
Well, obviously, yeah. There's the hilarious when she's in the toll booth. There's not a whole lot of smiling going on. It's.
Well, they like wheeled her in.
But I don't
for that
even know
scene.
how well it would work because their chemistry is so cordial and they're both
Yeah.
so old that if they started flirting with each other, it would be like seeing your parents having sex or something.
It's kind of hard to imagine Roger Moore's James Bond as a sexual being, starting with Moonraker. Like, for these next 4 movies, like, I would argue besides Maud Adams and Octopussy, I don't buy him being attracted to any of these women he's having sex with. He has such bad energy.
It feels like you're watching that scene in Mulholland Drive where Naomi Watts is doing like that scene with the older guy. That's pretty much like these later movies.
Yeah, it feels like that.
That must be why I like him so much. It reminds me of Mulholland Drive. Mulholland Drive.
Are they a dream or are they a nightmare?
Well, this one's kind of like a dream that you think is going to be good, but then you're just like, I can't follow any of this. This means nothing.
Speaking of that, this next scene.
I love this next scene.
I honestly don't know what you are talking about with saying that like this movie thinks that it's a real movie, because the passcode that the scientists use is the Close Encounters theme. And that is the most direct way of a movie to tell you this is not a real movie.
No, they're trying to remind me of realer movies, and I'm like, how dare you?
And not only that, but when he later does it, and M and the other guy, they do a double take as well, you know.
And
so they're kind of like, they almost look break the fourth wall, you know.
Bernard Lee's like, I've seen
Bernard
this movie.
Lee gets to go to Venice.
Yeah.
Bernard Lee's in Venice.
He gets, he sneaks around a lab. He gets in a sword fight with the guy.
Well, no, he drops. No, we forgot to mention how, like, because of Bond just leaving the vial of nerve gas out, he kills these 2 scientists in the most horrifying fashion ever. Like,
whatever.
And then he's just watching them die as they're like grabbing their throats, like, ah!
They literally created chemical weapons to wipe out all of human race, but somehow not animal or plant life. I don't mourn their deaths. I'm glad they're dead.
Again, he's got his license to kill.
But he doesn't directly kill them. It's a comical mishap how they die.
But it's fine because they're Nazi scientists.
Oh, yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Yes, who work for a Nazi who lives in Paris and California.
Then we get into the sword fight where I guess is the only reason they have that scene in the gallery is to add stakes, because it's like that shitty piece of glass is supposedly worth $1 million.
Yeah, well, that's what makes the scene even better, because earlier they're on tour of this glass museum and it's like, this would be worth $1 million. And if you try to steal it, this alarm will go off and you're just like waiting for all this shit to break. And sure enough, every single thing that is brought up in that scene is used to comic effect.
They do the great bit where he picks it up, the alarm goes off, he puts it back, and the guy just throws a rock through it.
Yeah. Apparently, that scene has the most breakaway glass in a movie up to that point when they were shooting.
God.
It reminded me of something out of John Wick.
it kind of.
It feels like when they did the Gustav Graves Pierce Brosnan fight in Die Another Day, they were trying to like one up this scene. Is what I always watching.
Is this a scene that ends with the guy falling into a piano?
Yes, and you see his underwear.
And then he says, play it again, Sam. And the people look at him confused, you know.
Play it again, Sam.
Yeah. And they're like, huh?
Yeah.
What?
If Troy was in that crowd, he would have been like, that's not the
quote. The quote
line.
is, play it, Sam. You can play it for her. Why don't you play it for me, you hack, screenwriting hacks?
And then he would have shot James Bond.
I would have shot the screen like Elvis.
Yeah, and then this is the kind of stuff in this next scene that on paper plays really well. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think it works all right when he's in the Goodhead's room and he's just like, let me freshen up, and he's like, well, what's this over here, flamethrower? What's this over
lipstick.
here, cyanide? What's this over here? You
Turns
know?
out Goodhead is CIA, boys.
Yeah.
That's right, which is
so cool.
It's a transparent attempt to just redo Anya from Spy Who Loved Me. But like
so poorly.
Yeah,
but with a
and
better
then
actress.
They have sex, and then at the end, James Bond like leaves her, like this meant nothing to me. But then she's like, psych, my suitcase is already packed. I was gonna leave you too. And I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, from a script point of view, it's weaker because they're on the same team and they have sex immediately, but then they try to play it like, what did it mean to them? It's kind of mushy.
Well, Lois doesn't play it at all. Lois just is there, and she's just like, I had sex with you. Okay.
Well, they're trying to set up like the entire time that she hates his guts because James Bond is a patronizing asshole the entire time until
And
finally
Holly
she's just
Goodhead
like,
isn't?
fuck it.
That doesn't come across at all. I don't feel anything coming across.
Well,
from
no,
this character.
that's the thing is that they just kind of drop it. Like the first couple scenes are like Bond is a dick to her, and she's just like,
but she's
fuck
a
you.
dick to him.
And then they meet up in the hotel room, and then they fuck, and then it's dropped, and then now the relationship has changed, and we don't know why.
Yeah, and then they're just kind of like, there's no romance to this. This really just feels like the least like Mary Goodnight at least really liked James Bond. Like,
yeah, I guess
I felt more chemistry from her.
Yeah, like she was really into it.
Well, she's a real actress, but that is a schlock movie. So I don't know. It's pros and cons, right?
I don't know. But despite the fact that she has zero chemistry with Roger Moore, her character is the most thinly written thing ever. Their relationship dynamic, like, isn't explored at all. I still like her.
Because you're in love with Lois Child. You just think she's cute.
She is, but
he
like,
admit it.
She's also cool.
Why? What does she do that's cool?
What does she do? Yeah.
She's just, I don't know, like the way she is, she's just confident. Even if she's like lazily going through her.
I think the big thing is that we don't have, I mean, maybe it's because the script doesn't attempt it, but we don't have the movie asking you to buy into this like dilemma that you get in the previous film.
Paul's like, this movie doesn't do storytelling. That's why it's better.
No, here's the thing. Better actress is my explanation.
False.
Barbara Bach's a much better actor than Lois
No.
Child.
Yeah, I agree with Troy 1000%.
She sells one-liners like nothing.
Lois Childs is barely acting and she's better than Barbara Bach.
No.
You know who's a better Bond girl in this movie? Richard Kiel.
Hey.
Actually, no. I do want to bounce off this.
Wonderful.
We're not quite there yet, but the love interest for Jaws, sells her attraction to Jaws much better than Lois Child sells her attraction for James Bond.
Honestly,
I might
Jaws'
agree with you
romance is supposed to be a joke, but it's like it ends up being like the heart
Yeah,
of
it's the heart of the movie for some reason.
It is.
Like,
Also, this time when I was watching that scene where Jaws meets, what's her name is supposed to be like Holly? Not
it
Holly.
doesn't matter.
She has a name in the credits, But the scene where he just like grabs her by the hand and they skip along away from the destroyed 7-Up ad is just the funniest fucking thing. I was like laughing hysterically this time.
It's a match made in heaven. It's a gigantic man and a small woman with pigtails.
I'm grinning ear to ear every time they're on screen.
Apparently, they wanted to cast a tall woman for that part, and Richard Kiel was like, "I'm married to a short woman. I don't need to always be with a tall person." Why don't
they were very
woman?
concerned that they're like, we can't have someone that's that short. That would be weird. And it's just like, no, but that's what makes it funny.
It funnier.
Exactly.
Yes. It's
okay. Yeah, let's just talk more about Richard Kiel because he's so fucking cool.
See, we're wrapping up the part of the movie where Jaws is not in it, and then in Brazil when James Bond is in Carnival and you see a giant guy in a costume wandering down, you're like, hey,
and he's dressed as a clown.
Back.
I love it. He's about to attack the Rio agent, and then Bond comes in to save the day. But then he's about to get killed, and then the freaking carnival partiers start partying and sweep him up in their party, and then you literally just see him like trying to like struggle to get back to Bond until he goes like, "Oh well," and he puts his arms up and starts dancing with them.
It's so good. Right? He's like, "Fuck it," and he joins the party. That's when I knew like this Jaws is the best.
Yeah. Don't think it.
So
feel
good.
it.
He used to mean something. Jaws used to mean something. We were a proper country.
This means something. It's just something different.
Yeah, it's goofier and funny.
This is like my parents explaining their next relationship after the divorce. Yeah, that meant something. This just means something different.
Jaws still loves you, Troy. He's just different now.
He's moving on.
The scary Jaws is still out there somewhere, and he loves you very much. But no, we get the iconic line in the cable car where she asks, "Do you know him?" And he says, "Not socially.
Yes.
His name is Jaws. He kills people."
Do you know him?
Not socially. His name's Jaws. He kills people.
Oh my god, that is my favorite.
I'm sure they wanted to say he bites people, but that was a little too much.
No, I believe the original line is, "This is Jaws. He bites people, which kills them and takes out their soul. I recommend not being killed by Jaws."
Her sword traps the souls of its victims.
I was gonna
His
say,
teeth traps the
do
souls
not
of its
get bit by
victims.
Jaws.
No,
he's got my back.
He's got my back. What are we, some kind of Moonraker?
I know I say this a lot, but that exchange is like one of my favorite things in a Bond movie. Is just his name is Jaws. He kills people. It's just like, yeah, that's it.
because why would he possibly be working for a different Bond villain? You know. Like, what use could he possibly have? Well, he kills people.
Bond is basically like, wow, yeah, Jaws doesn't have any agenda except he really likes.
Yeah.
Is he paid for this? I'm not even sure he's paid for this.
I think.
Yeah, well, we also don't, like, up to this point, it hasn't, like, we've assumed, but it hasn't been confirmed that he's working for Drax. He might as well just be like fucking with James Bond just because.
That would actually be a fun thing for a James Bond movie to do, to have someone like Jaws come back and then he ends up in the secret lair at the end and he's like, "What the hell? What's this?"
Yeah, what is this?
For you?
Yes, but they fight him on the cable car. He, of course, bites the cables.
Which was made of licorice. It was made of licorice, so he could bite into it, but he still had to wear the.
Chew it. Oh,
that's awesome.
And then the cable car goes all the way down and makes a big poof of smoke, and he emerges.
Oh no! His face when he's about to crash is so funny. Where he's like, "Ah!"
Yeah.
And then he fucking
He's making a face.
through.
He goes through. They blow up the building. The beachgoers run. He emerges. And there's a woman there.
Who helps him because
and
he has
start playing Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, no, he has like a wheel of the gondola just like stuck to his head and he can't get out. And she helps him out.
No, and these are the moments where I'm like, man, if the whole movie was like this would be my favorite James Bond movie.
Yeah,
because it's so awesome.
I wouldn't go that far. It's silly, but if they committed to the silliness like Guy Hamilton would, then maybe it would work better.
Yeah. Well, that's my biggest thing with this movie. I'm like, I love when Bond is stupid. What is it about this movie that I don't like? Because I love so many parts of this, but the movie is just boring.
Most of it's just boring, but it has Paul just dreams about these sequences, the pigeon.
My whole thing is like, if you took any, like, there are a dozen, maybe even 24 scenes in this movie where if you showed me them out of context, I would go, that movie must be amazing. But then you watch it and just there's no emotional framework to hang any of these scenes on. The tone just changes wildly, and it's just
it's very poorly paced.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem.
John Glenn, I think this is his first movie that he edited, right?
No, he's been editing basically since On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Almost.
Well, he does a pretty shit job.
No,
in this
yeah,
one.
he's not great at pacing.
If it was like a 40-minute long featurette of just Jaws,
it would be great.
If it was a 5-minute Looney Tunes short of Jaws trying to kill James Bond,
that would be great.
It'd be my favorite movie.
I would love that.
Then it would be perfect. Of course, I don't know if I need to bring up my ongoing, like, why are these movies over 2 hours ever? But whatever, you know.
No, because this movie, especially,
this needed to be cut
especially
down.
when they get to the space sequence, it feels so padded out, and it's like this movie is already over 2 hours long. Just cut some of this shit.
Yeah, you just cut stuff down.
And it's funny. I mean, it's funny to me actually. I mean, we're continue to skip ahead, but they're the things that is so remarkable about Star Wars that it doesn't do, right? That this, Star Wars is all about speed. We're going to spend all this money on effects, and we're just going to cut. Whereas it's funny that Moonraker is going back to the 2001 mode of, oh my God, look at, which to me, honestly, I mean, obviously 2001 is one of the all-time classics. The few things that slightly bump for me are the stuff where you feel it's the moon landing sequence. Ironically, Moon is the stuff where you feel like they're really trying to get their money's worth out of the effects and that you're impressed by the spectacle. It's hilarious that Moonraker does this with worse effects 10 years later.
This is slow cinema at its finest. Tarkovsky wrote a lot about using boredom as a cinematic tool. And oh boy, is Louis Gilbert practicing that technique in this movie.
There's a review by Tom Allen in The Village Voice.
Who?
When it came out. He said, Moonraker is the most expensive avant-garde movie since Barry Lyndon.
Borderline experimental.
That is 1,000% accurate.
Okay, we're kind of hyping it to hell and back here, but what was I going to say about the pacing? My issue is I feel like Louis Gilbert's a very talented director, so again, he's directing all this ridiculous stuff, like it should be paced in a normal movie, but again, because it's nothing, you're just like, move on. This means nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they really are proud of this momentous, well, especially for him, especially for Louis.
Yeah.
Because, Roger Moore didn't make the same mistake Connery did. He did not fuck up which air fucking briefcase gadget he was supposed to bring on. So he got through the checkpoint. He actually gets to take off in the spaceship this time.
Yay!
And then
it's
he
so
gets
underwhelming.
into space.
Wait. Did you know this movie? I got a Mandela effect watching this movie with Jaws' girlfriend, because I remembered her having braces, and that the whole joke was like,
wait, she doesn't?
No, she doesn't have braces. I was shocked too. I'm watching the movie and I'm like,
that moment too, actually.
Where are
wait,
they?
what the are you serious?
Yeah, I'm like, where are her
had
braces?
this
I go
moment.
online. Everyone assumed she has braces because that's like the logical joke, right? But no,
I
she
just
doesn't.
watched it and I could have
she doesn't have braces.
Sworn that she has
She
braces.
doesn't have
This is a
braces.
common
She never
thing
had
that
braces.
people run into. I had to look at this up because I'm like, what happened to her braces? There was a conspiracy.
I thought the whole point of this was that she had
No,
braces.
it was just because she helped him. That was
She
it.
has glasses.
So she's just a random woman.
Yes.
She has glasses, so she's a nerd.
That makes it even
And
better.
I looked it up online. There's a conspiracy theory that in the 90s, they went in and digitally removed the braces. And that's why they're not there.
Fucking
They
God.
erased it from the archive memory.
This is the strongest Mandela effect I've ever had.
Yeah, no, this feels weird, right? Like she should have
This
braces.
is insane.
Yeah, this is why the script isn't quite up to the level of schlock that we would hope.
She should have braces.
Logically she should, but yeah, no, she never did. I think I used to think believe in the Mandela effect. I'm like, wait, she doesn't have braces. Oh, okay. And then I didn't think about it. Okay. But now this is like an online thing where people are going like, oh my God, where are the braces? And I'm like, they were never there.
I rewound.
Dude, I could have sworn I just watched it like 2 hours. Like, I'm watching these Google photos like Kevin Costner watching the Zapruder film. I can't believe it.
I'm seeing them. It actually is just like JFK. I'm seeing the photos reflected in Jan's glasses. And it does look like Kevin Costner and JFK.
This is the key shot. The president going back and to his left.
Back, braces.
Check the files.
And to the left, braces.
It was a matter of time where JFK would be brought back into the Bond podcast.
Yes, this is the moment.
That's right.
Well, that just blew my fucking mind. That's insane.
We're learning something new every day, folks. But there was a couple of things before we get to space. I had to note a couple of things.
Oh no,
that made
we're
me
skipping over the good part of the movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, these next two scenes are like the best case that Q helped put down the Sandinista revolt and aided the Contras.
Well, that was one of them. Is we see? I mean, just like in the Egyptian tomb, it's pretty much the exact same thing, but they're in in a monastery or something.
A monastery that's supposed to be outside of Rio, but is actually Italy.
Yes. That Moneypenny lives out, and for some reason,
like random Mexican
James
stuff.
Bond, who has been wearing a tuxedo for the last 40 minutes for no good reason, is now dressed up as a gaucho, and he's running.
Yes. That's when the movie is, for a brief chunk of time, amazing. They play the Magnificent Seven. He has a poncho and a sombrero. And
you want to know my Mandela effect of this movie? I thought that he somehow lost his clothes between the British Airways gag.
Yeah.
And that scene.
Oh, that was
and
the
so
other
he had
thing,
to dress up as a gaucho to go to MI6.
Such a weird Mandela effect, Jake. The braces makes much more sense.
No, but the braces is officially recognized Mandela effect.
You thought he got it. Well, that was the thing about they get captured after the cable car and by these fake medics. And this, I mean, whatever you think of the combination of actor performance of Ms. Goodhead, her high point is this scene where it looks like they're both going to fuck the ambulance man, and that's how they're going to get out of it.
No, the guy is just smiling at Holly Goodhead, and then he turns around and looks at Bond, and Bond's oogling him too, and then he looks disgusted, the guy looking at Bond, and then Lois Chiles has to turn his attention back, and then he goes from frown, looks over, smiles again.
That movie has a couple weird moments like that. When we get to the ending, we'll talk about it.
Yes, it's very strange.
There's some of that.
But yeah, then we get to Q arming the Contra
with explosive bolus. Oh, when Bond goes up to Q and he just goes balls, Q, bolus 007, and they fucking explode.
Balls, Q. Bolus 007.
It's bolus means balls. These are lines that make absolutely no sense. It's anti-comedy.
And then
this is why it's funny to me.
There's a priest with a laser gun.
Yeah, there's a monk with a laser gun.
There's a guy that looks like he's praying, and then he splits open.
Then it opens up, and he's just a machine gun.
It's like something out of a Total Recall.
It's like Desperado.
This is the man that's supposed to end Daniel Ortega's regime in Nicaragua. It's a priest with a laser gun.
No, literally all the controversial policies of the Reagan era were invented by Roger Moore Bond movies.
I was gonna say I'm just imagining Ronald Reagan on national television going I did not sell weapons to the Iranians, and then Q in the background being
Oh no, President 00 Reagan.
I did not sell balls to the Iranians. I sold bolus.
Yeah, but Q is just like burning duck.
He's talking to Oliver North and going like, so we do have those laser guns, right? the explosive bolus, right? And then,
but guys, this is ridiculous. Ronald Reagan would never name one of his policies after a 1970s sci-fi movie. That's ridiculous.
That's why he named the Flash Gordon program.
Do you think Ronald Reagan was going to name that program For Your Eyes Only, but then he panicked and named it Star Wars after the success of Star Wars?
He had to make sure it was more popular. Before I forget, one thing that we missed that also made me chuckle, because we're talking about M. When Bond tries to show M the secret lab closet, which also makes me think of the Funzo episode of The Simpsons where they're oh my God, is this going to be one of those things where Homer's like, is this going to be one of those things where you find me impaled on a weather vane later? Is that what this is?
Is this going to be like one of those horror movies where we open the door and everything's normal and we think you're crazy, but then there really is a killer robot and the next morning you find me impaled on a weather vane? Is that what this is, Lisa?
Anyway, that's the energy. But he's like, you got to put on gas masks. And M is not covering his nose.
Poor Bernard Lee. I thought they introduced Frederick Gray, the defense minister, who's in all of M's and Q's scenes. I thought they introduced him because Bernard Lee had stomach cancer and he wasn't doing well. And they're like, let's get a successor in. No, apparently they introduced him because, yes, Bernard Lee did have stomach cancer. But he also was such a drunk that they cast Frederick Gray to make sure he didn't wander off set to find the nearest bar. And apparently this was like a going concern.
It's amazing. But they kept him around. He's in all of these movies up until The Living Daylights. So he's just somebody's like alcoholic sponsor or something.
Yeah, he's just a sponsor.
Yeah, it's like in movies when there are children, how they have like baby wranglers. They have a wrangler just for Bernard Lee.
I'm drunk.
Well, it's like, okay, we have a scene where Bernard Lee's in Venice. We also have a scene where a man looks at his bottle of wine while he's in Venice. How are we going to tackle this?
Yes.
You know?
You're like, we got to bring back Wine Guy. At the script read, Bernard Lee is like looking at Wine Guy the whole time.
He's just like smacking his lips. Just going like,
oh, wait, are we at the grotto? Have we?
Maybe that's why he looked embalmed.
Well,
Keown's just drinking wine constantly.
He was pretty close to it at this point, folks.
Well, yeah, so after we get Gadget City, and then we get our second speedboat chase of the movie, which is pretty fun. And then he just kind of, discovers this Kingdom of the Crystal Skull style.
Filled with beautiful women that have been collected by Drax.
I had to rewind that. I was just like, how did he get, like, he just gets there.
Yeah.
Like, he just stumbles upon it.
I thought I maybe should rewind, but then I just didn't. So I'm like, okay.
That's how I felt. I rewound this movie a couple times, and I'm like, why am I doing this?
And then he fights.
It's like, who cares?
That whole sequence is a fever dream. That's something out of Zardos.
So he steps on the one rock that will catapult you into the little lake that has a little snake in it.
And then he fights a big rubber snake.
Yeah, he fights a big rubber snake.
And he stabs it with a thing.
I've got 25 scenes to shoot tonight.
Oh yeah, no, it does look like that. When he's like wrestling with a big snake.
So when you get in there and fight with him, shake his legs around. It looks like he's killing you. Okay.
Just Bela Lugosi.
Just move it around. It'll look like it's hurting you.
Throw it away.
God damn, it's cold.
Someone misplaced the snake motor.
You never said anything about a snake motor.
And then there's these weird, like, women just, like, staring at what's going on. And it's like, are you going to do anything? Are you henchmen? Like,
you know who one of those women are?
Oh, wait, yeah, Jake. I think it's not in this scene. I think it's in the scene where they're all going up to the space station. But yes, Jake, say who one of the women is.
One of the women being lured onto the Moonraker. It's Lois Maxwell's 22-year-old daughter.
Melinda Maxwell.
Oh.
So
okay.
Wow.
That wasn't as shocking as I was. You build it up.
Yeah,
too
but
much.
Jan, when you edit this episode, you're gonna put like dun 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 dun.
I was expecting you to say something like, and that woman was Eva Braun. Like, I don't know. I was expecting.
Well, they were in Brazil.
And that woman was Hillary Rodham Clinton.
Yes.
I was thinking that Bond is just like moving on to Lois Maxwell's daughter and just making it even more weird and creepy.
They kind of do that in Octopussy.
He becomes Captain America.
Oh yeah, when Captain America throws his mighty shield.
Yeah. But after he wrestles the rubber snake, Mr. Lonsdale shows up and he's like, "All right, come on back. Let's rap a little."
Yeah, Drax is like, "You killed my favorite snake."
And I realized, oh, this is weirdly full circle because Lewis Gilbert directed You Only Live Twice, in which we had the precursor to the Death Star, and then after the Death Star, this is him doing the Death Star from that other movie that made a lot of money.
Yes.
So it's like it's Ouroboros, you know. He gets into big room with a lot of lights. It's also actually it's also, you know, it's screens.
Yeah.
It's also triangular, much like Dark Star.
Yeah.
A movie that I'm sure they were trying to replicate the success of. A movie that made $500
with just as scruffy people as the people in Dark Star.
Now the evil layer is pretty cool. It kind of looks like the lobby to a memory and tolerance museum or something.
Yeah. Every screen is showing Topaz, and they're like tolerated.
That's right. And as we noted, Roger Moore improves on James Bond improves on, he learned from his past mistakes, because obviously this is all continuity.
Yes.
By not misplacing the thing, so he gets on the ship and it goes off. I don't understand how this works, but they stole one space shuttle, but actually there are like 20.
Yeah, there's like 20 around the world or something.
Yeah, but the one that he was using got messed up, which is why he had to steal one he was sending out to the British, right? So he needed that one
that was
back.
that was just a spare part.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because there's just like, why did you steal your own rocket? And he's like, one of them broke. I needed one.
Yeah, so then they launch, and it's kind of taxing on your stamina until Jaws comes back.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the space age aesthetic. So the whole new arc plot, it's kind of stupid, where Drax is bringing all the attractive people up to repopulate the Earth after he wipes out human race, but nothing else, apparently. But yeah.
It's again, it's Stromberg again.
Yeah, it's Stromberg. Plan. It's just Stromberg, except he has a little beard and he reminds me of Droopy Dog.
It's tall Peter Dinklage.
Peter Dinklage can also play Droopy. That's fine.
Yes.
That whole sequence, just when ever since they get into the fucking spacesuits, the movie is so boring. Well, except for the part where they get into zero gravity and everyone's like acting.
Yeah.
Well, it's great. Again,
really
it's like
slow.
it's so retro to have it just be like, okay, half of the shots people will be on wires, and half of the shots it'll just be slow motion.
Not just slow motion, but people are actually like moving slowly. Like there's an amazing shot of Drax like against the wall, just going, whoa.
See, that's fun. That's why I'm having a good time, because I'm like, this is the money shot. I went to go see a movie called Moonraker.
We encountered this recently, Jake, because I was trying to film a shot of you in slow motion, and we learned, like, you have to resist the urge, because you know it's going to be in slow motion. You have to resist the urge to actually do it in slow motion.
Yeah. Well, no, that's another thing that they were doing, because like there's an earlier part where Lois Chiles is doing like the pen thing from 2001, and you could tell that the way they filmed it, she was moving as slowly as possible to grab the pen, and they put it in slow motion, so it just looks weird.
We were doing that when we were shooting the promo for this, and like You guys were like walking slowly into the thing, and then we had to be like, okay, just do it normally.
Just do it normally. Finger gun at your normal pace. Yeah.
But or else you'll end up looking like Drax. Just
wait. Is this the part?
Yeah.
So...
that when they're getting into the shuttle, there's just like in the background, there's just a person like with his feet up in the air.
Wait. Is this the part? I do think this is a cool line. I'll give Drax this. I like when he tries to kill James Bond and Holly Goodhead with the fire of the rocket taking off, and he's like, "I'm always considerate, Mr. Bond. I've given you your own private crematorium." Like, that's fun.
It's kind of fun, and that's the most 1-to-1 of
the book.
It looks like. Well, no, it looks like the round table from the Death Star where Darth Vader chokes the guy.
But that fucking those computer screens like folding in is so.
It's a cool design.
That's
cool.
Looking. Yeah, that's cool. But that's the most like steel gray, all that.
But then I mean, you guys can take it from here because I have not. This 30-minute climax is such a fucking skip for me.
So when the space station is launched, they have to call the Soviets. So we get to see Gogol. My boy Gogol's back.
And he's getting his dick wet.
Yeah, no, they're just like, sorry for disturbing you, Gogol. And he's just like, it's okay. I can't go to sleep. And he hangs up.
I'm so worried.
And then I'm so worried. And then there's like a blonde chick in his bed.
And originally that was supposed to be Barbara Bach as Anya, but she said no. And I'm like, thank God. That would have been weird. That would have been like seeing James Bond having sex with M. Like,
I would pay good money.
To see it, but it shouldn't be done. It shouldn't be done.
Well, they already alluded to it, though.
Yeah, I mean, we know it happened.
Yeah,
we know what happened in Tokyo.
Maybe that's why M drinks so much, is to forget that one night in Tokyo.
He's in love with him. He's in love with James Bond, but he knows he'll never be reciprocated. He hears him. M hears him flirting with Moneypenny like through the intercom, and he's like sobbing to himself, and then he goes, "Moneypenny, get back to work."
So then like the entire like Russian army goes to space.
Yeah, everyone's in space.
No, it's the U.S. Army.
I don't fucking care.
Yeah, there's a space shuttle that just says like Marines.
Yeah, Marines. And the shuttle fucking opens, and there's a whole army of guys with jetpacks and lasers.
Laser guns
that float out.
Yeah, well, the lasers are fun. The lasers are fun.
Science
fact, baby.
Science fact.
Oh, I love the laser guns. This is the promise of Thunderball fulfilled. I know everyone likes the harpoon fight in Thunderball, but that doesn't get me going. I'll admit, seeing a bunch of astronauts jetting around in outer space, shooting each other with laser guns,
I mean, it's pretty fun.
Yeah,
I think
cool.
Thunderball's more impressive in that respect. But
It's okay. The only good part, like really good part in this climax, obviously, is when Joss turns good.
You mean the part that George Lucas stole for Return of the Jedi with similar framing?
Yes.
I think honestly, studying these films, Lewis Gilbert and George Lucas, it's like the Beatles and the Beach Boys. Like they're constantly trying to top each other.
No, even their names, LG and GL, trapped in a mortal flip.
Oh my
the
goodness.
yin and the yang.
Yin and the yang.
Two identical souls.
and yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like it's the same. His trilogy is the same as the Star Wars trilogy, right? It's like the first one's really good, second one's great, third one's
The second one is a romance. The third one goes crazy until you're on the space station, and Hugo Drax is like, I hate people with deformities. And then Jaws goes, wait, I have metal teeth. And then he looks at his girlfriend and goes, wait, she has glasses. Hold on.
No. It's even better because it's not Drax who says that. Bond is the one who puts the idea in his head because he's just like, oh, are you trying to say you're making your perfect race? Where do you fit in, Jaws?
And of course, anyone not measuring up to your standards of physical perfection will be exterminated.
And Jaws goes like, wait a second. And he looks at his girlfriend and he's like, you have a point there.
and then Drax goes like, Jaws, I own you. You obey me or something.
It's
right.
so sweet, and I love seeing Jaws work together with James Bond. It makes my heart very full.
It's like if Darth Vader turned into Chewbacca. Like if it had been one long sacrifice, okay, but now he's like Chewbacca. He's just running around.
But Troy, Star Wars is a semi-real movie. This is not.
But I know Louis Gilbert can make real movies. I just saw him do it. I know you can do better, Louis.
But we can have both.
We can't.
Yes, we can, and I'll tell you why. Because you like the original Star Wars trilogy, and you also like Revenge of the Sith, which is not a real movie, but we love it.
Revenge of the Sith has emotional
That is
payoffs.
a fair point,
Everyone
Jen.
follows emotional logic. I have a Camille Paglia clip that I want you to play in full about how Revenge of the Sith is the best movie of the 21st century.
But no, I was going to say, yeah, so then all hell breaks loose. A bunch of people get shot and blown up. Things explode. I love that when they're running through like one of the corridors, it starts getting twisted and broken. And this time I was watching and realized, oh, those control panels are just printed on paper. it's just paper that's folding.
Yeah.
And then the most one-to-one of anything with the Star Wars thing is the very end, where after Jaws, he gets to speak and he gets to drink champagne.
He turns the bottle of Bollinger to the camera and he opens it with his teeth.
In the most sexual manner I've ever seen anyone open champagne.
My God. I mean, yeah, it's like obviously he was going to bite it with his teeth, but the froth.
Yeah.
The froth.
Just.
And then he turns to his
and you
girlfriend.
can hear him. There's like 1 second where you can hear him gag. He just
I heard the gag. Yeah, I heard the gag.
And they look through, he and Bond look through the window at each other, and it's like, Jaws, can you do me a solid? And he's like, of course.
And he gives him a thumbs up. It's so cool.
And then Jaws goes, here's to us.
Yeah, Jaws pours the drink and goes, well, cheers to us.
Well, here's to us.
And then
wait, we're also forgetting the slow-mo shot where Jaws reunites with his girl and he just like picks her
up like a child.
Yeah.
And then their section of the ship flies off, and then Bond reassures us that it's okay, they'll be okay. They're 100 miles from Earth's atmosphere. They'll be fine.
Don't worry, they'll make it. It's only 100 miles to Earth.
I don't know if he's being sarcastic
No,
or not.
they're being serious because they want to reassure us that Jaws survives. And then later on in the movie, they go like, we just picked up a really tall guy and a girl.
And a really short woman.
A very short.
More adventures to come. But no, the line reading really does feel like James Bond like has just read about this, and he's like, the space station's only 100 miles from Earth.
He probably was just reading it off the script. But that makes me happy because and I'm not even joking. I would genuinely be so much more devastated if Jaws didn't make it than like Darth Vader.
Oh yeah, if Jaws did a heroic sacrifice, I would have actually felt something in this movie. And this movie's very dedicated to making me not feel anything. But can I talk about one moment where I felt a brief amount of joy? Drax's death scene.
Oh, yeah.
I'll admit, that's one of the coolest ways James Bond has ever taken out a villain.
I am not sure if he shot him with the poison dart or the armor-piercing dart in the dick.
Well, we'll never know.
We'll never know.
You think when Drax was dying, he also saw Q?
It's Q in the horse's butt.
The last thing you'll ever see.
But it's a little overkill if you shot him, because here's my thought process. If you shot him with the cyanide thing, he's going to be dead in 30 seconds. And so it's a little overkill to just shoot him out into space.
But he has to make one giant leap for mankind.
He does.
And then he shoots him out. And then Holly Goodhat's like, where'd he go? And it's like, he had to fly. And then you see little Michael Lonsdale, Peter Dinklage
God,
man.
Did anyone hear that?
What?
I just ripped the biggest fucking fart. I'm sure I'll pick it up on my mic.
Oh, no.
All right. Okay, Jen. Maybe if you weren't so busy tucking certain parts of your body back there, your farts would be less.
I just farted all over my balls.
Not a balls fart. Oh man, I freaking love, but no, that's so cool when he shoots Drax out into space.
Yeah.
Again, I know you guys don't like the space part, but the space part of Moonraker is the only part where I feel alive and I'm like, I'm getting what I paid for.
It's very boring.
So fucking boring.
He shoots him in the space. Holly Goodhat is mildly concerned about that.
I like when Drax dies, but I don't love the entirety of this. I love moments of the space. It's like the movie on itself. I love moments, but it's also very boring.
Mostly Joss. We mostly love Joss.
We love him. Anyway, so now that the space station blows apart, well, this is where I was saying
that should be the end, and it just keeps.
Well, we gotta do the sex scene.
No, but no, they gotta blow up the nerve gas.
Well, no, what we gotta do. This is what I was saying. They have to do the trench run.
Yeah, they gotta do the trench run.
He has to stay on target, and this is the part that is the most 1-to-1.
The most boring ass trench run.
It's the most unexciting fucking thing.
Yeah, no, it's just like, did you ever want to see the trench run? Except it's just a middle-aged man.
Except there's no trench, and instead of shooting one thing, he has to shoot three things, and you can't even see them.
Yeah,
they're acting through this asleep.
Yes, and then they even have to switch off his targeting computer, and they both look so bored, and they're just like, we're like, okay, shoot down the fucking thing so the movie can end and you can fucking space. If
they had Bernard Lee pop up and go, use the booze, Bond, and like he takes out a little vodka martini and like
the South Park Matrix bit where he gets superpowers when he's drunk.
Yes, he drinks the vodka martini and then he just does it, and Holly's like, wow, that really set you back, and he's like, we're good and plastered now.
Now I'm just imagining M trying to like shoot that thing down. He's just like shooting Earth and like killing people.
M's wandering around with a laser strapped to his chest in space, just firing wildly like 007? Are you 007? Where's 007?
Where's it? I can't shoot.
Anyways, and then we get our classic, they discover Bond.
They cover him having sex. It's
blinking.
Like shot for shot, the same thing from Spy Who Loved Me.
Yeah. It's the twist in this one is that James Bond looks at the camera that they're spying him on, and he smiles as he's fucking her.
Talk about how they have different angles. So they're patching it into Buckingham Palace in the United States. I love the floating clothes effects. I love the floating in bed effects. That's all cool. But yeah, we're cutting from like a wide angle, and then they cut to a close-up of Roger Moore all on the same monitor.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why do they have multiple cameras around this bed?
Troy, if that's what you're concerned about in this scene, like, I don't know what to do for you.
My biggest concern is the movie is over.
Jan, this movie is bad because it doesn't make sense.
No, but it's not the fun kind of doesn't make sense.
I genuinely thought that the movie was just gonna end with James Bond like keeping on like staring at the camera.
He's staring at Bernard Lee.
Yeah, and he fogs up the camera.
Yeah. And then Bernard Lee is like looking into Bond's eyes.
Yeah, like the stretching machine, like just pumping.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to a close-up of Bernard Lee, and it's a still frame, and it's like, Bernard, rest in peace.
And he cries a single tear
as the disco Moonraker theme is playing.
So R.I.P. Bernard Lee King.
Moonraker was his last theatrically released movie. I believe his last movie was by one of the directors of Casino Royale, Dangerous Davies, The Last Detective, which was a TV movie. But this was his last theatrically released film. Ends with him going 007 as he has sex in front of him.
Well, and we're also missing the funniest part is where what's his name? The minister is like, good
Frederick
God, what's Bond? Good God, what is Bond doing? And Q goes like, I think he's attempting reentry, sir.
I think he's attempting reentry, sir.
And I like the detail that Q is not looking at the screen; he's looking at a map.
He's looking
of spaceships.
But
to establish that Q is not trying to make a double entendre.
Yeah, that's just Q being
he's a victim of circumstance.
Yeah. Which is fun.
Q is concerned. He's doing his own thing. He's doing his Iran-Contra affair, you know.
Q's got a lot of side hustles in these movies.
A lot of side hustles.
Q's quietly, like you look at Q's screen and he's like negotiating the hostage crisis.
From Ahmed's Tea Party to weaponizing the Contras, you know, whatever. he's got a lot on his plate.
Well, it makes sense. He was in the Middle East in the last movie to get the money from the Iranians to sell the lasers to the Contras in this.
God.
Yeah, he's masterminding it. I will say this. One thing I do like about Moonraker is, yes, this is Bernard Lee's last movie, and it is nice that, like, to have him, Moneypenny, Lois Maxwell, Desmond Llewellyn, all together for the last time, and you're like, aw, the old crew.
Except it's very boring, and most of their scenes fall flat, at least with Lois Maxwell.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should have ended it with Spy Who Loved Me. So that's Moonraker.
Yeah.
Where are you?
And the
Why
song
do
is back
you
with a disco
hide?
beat.
Who wants to start?
I've noticed I always go first. Other people can go first. I don't know if that's like locked in at this point.
Oh, shall we mix it up?
Should we mix it up?
That's up
Should
to
I
you
go?
guys.
It does seem like I always get the final word, and then everybody has to respond to me.
Okay, but Paul, since this is your favorite movie ever, why don't you start?
All right, I'm jumping in.
His two favorite movies so far have been this and Casino Royale.
Yeah,
No, we also like Thunderball.
No, Thunderball is actually okay.
Thunderball remains king, actually.
What?
But
I respect it. I respect that.
Insane
Thunderball
choice.
remains king. No, this is easily the second best Roger Moore, no question. It's very funny. It is exactly my kind of schlock. It's fairly nice to look at. There's a lot of silly things that make me smile. Roger Moore is definitely playing a dick, but it's not quite as painful as the other ones. I don't think it's a genius deconstruction or something like that. I mean, it is schlock, but it is
The
my
monument.
kind of schlock. And it has such sporadically interesting scenes running through the forest or something where these things come together. Yeah, in the last couple of movies, we were thoroughly in this zone of you've seen all of it before, but it really just comes down to like execution and like the nuances of like, do you like that line reading? Do you like that one-liner? Do you like that performance? You know, and these ones rub me the right way.
And you're just smiling and nodding the entire
Paul's little
time.
nuances, like, did you like the acting? Did you like the script? Did you like
Who
where
cares?
the camera was?
Well, again, it's all. I mean, it's almost scene for scene the same thing for the line. Whatever. Yeah, they
Well, all
settled
of
into
Louis
their
Gilbert's
thing.
movies are basically the same James Bond movie, just different variations on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the other thing is like, I felt like I was going crazy during the climax of this because I'm like, it's when you start feeling like this is the same movie. I've been watching the same movie every week for 2 months. What am I doing with my life?
Why does it look like Vegas?
Why does it look like Vegas? Sorry, Paul, continue.
No, I mean, I don't know if I really have many other hot takes. We got through it, but yeah, well, Roger Moore is looking pretty old. I'll say that. And
that's not going to get better.
The mole, I guess we have to weigh in on the mole.
Yeah,
it's prominent, which ain't, you know, better in a wide, you know, keep that guy in a wide. The only character I want to see in a close-up in this movie is the pigeon.
Are you giving this movie 5 out of 5 pigeons?
Yes.
Yeah, let's rank it in pigeons.
All right.
5 out of 5 pigeons. 2 out of 5 for the mole. It's getting worse.
All right.
All right. Who wants to go next?
I guess I'll go next.
All right. We're splitting into our two camps.
The two camps.
Wait, no. I don't know what Jake's opinion on Moonraker is.
Well, we'll get to that.
Okay.
Yeah, watching this movie again, it's almost like everyone goes and attacks this movie because it is stupid. But as we all know from watching these movies, all of these movies are stupid. And it just...
No, I like it when it's
yeah,
stupid.
exactly. And going into it again this time, I'm just like... Because I'm usually like, I don't like Moonraker at all and stuff, and it's too stupid. But now I've gotten older, and the stupidity of the Bond movies grows on me, and I'm like, you know what? Let's go. Let's take this for a ride. And I'm just like, oh fuck! With every like great
Jake
dumb
Nunes'
moment.
wild ride.
Yeah, Jake Nunes' wild ride. Watching
he goes to hell with these movies.
He's going to hell. He sees Q waiting for him, and he takes the movies.
I'm pretty pretty sure there's a part of Mr. Toad's Wild Ride where there's a dart and a horse's butt on a painting. I feel that's
probably.
Now I feel like we should have added to the promo when Jake gets shot just an image of Q.
Yeah, like Desmond Llewellyn. Like
it's not too late.
Flash of him.
Oh my god.
No, that'll be our season 2.
There we go.
No, well, what are we talking about? There's not gonna be a season 2.
We're never doing this. Was a huge mistake. We're never doing
You want to do this in Planet of the Apes? You man.
No spoilers.
No spoilers. Anyway, so yeah, this movie is stupid, but I'm just like, no, come on, you can't hate this movie just because it's stupid and Bond goes to space, because that's what you're paying. You're paying your ticket to watch this. And yes, I agree with Paul. Gotta love the pigeon. Gotta love Jaws shenanigans. Even love like some of the weird, brilliant filmmaking choices, especially with the death of the French lady at the beginning. You're just like, that was really good. Why is it in this movie? But having said that, the biggest flaw with this movie is not the stupidity or Bond goes to space. It is that it is paced like shit, because we have too many scenes of filler where Bond goes from room to room, as we said before. But it also it's really hard to rank it because those stupid scenes are just so fucking hilarious. And it looks good for the most part. Like, I know we were shitting on the special effects, but for what they did, they're not bad.
So for this series, it's quite an accomplishment. And with that, I mean, maybe we mentioned, but like the connection to the Return of the Jedi is when you learn about, like, the major accomplishment of Return of the Jedi is just the amount of things on the screen. And this has that quantity in the space battles, right? Well, like when ILM talks about Return of the Jedi, it's just we did the same thing times 10. Right.
And the effects are good. It really makes you believe that Bernard Lee is alive and there, you know?
that he's not, he hasn't been dead for 5 years.
Like Spy Who Loved Me, they busted out the hardest minds in Hollywood were at work, making him look alive and well, and
like he didn't die of consumption like 3 years ago.
Spy Who Loved Me is a very high effort movie. Everyone put in their top effort. Moonraker is a somewhat high effort movie where a lot of people put in a lot of effort, but not a lot of important people.
Yeah.
Bernard Lee's makeup looks like Martin Landau's makeup in Ed Wood.
Fuck you!
You seem a little agitated. You want to go outside and get some air?
Bullshit! I'm ready now. Roll the camera.
But we see it in color, so it makes it even more jarring.
Yeah, even creepier.
Yeah, so like I said, the biggest problem with this movie is not that it's stupid, it's that it's weirdly paced, where there's too much dead air in between absolutely brilliant gags. It looks great, as most of the Lewis Gilbert movies are. They look good, they're shot well. The gags work. It's just that flab. And that makes this go from, I mean, I used to think this is one of the worst Bond movies, but honestly, it's a mixed bag. It has some highlights. It has some lows. It is a 2.5 pigeons out of 5 for me.
Okay, Doug.
Was that a...
Don't say that name.
That just made me want to...
Why did you say that name?
Why did you say that name?
He who must not be named.
But seriously.
The Dark Lord.
Did I tell you all I got drunk on my birthday? I did some Irish car bombs. Is that a cool drink to say? And I drank Moscow Mules. And I got so drunk that I explained to everyone in my improv class, I was like, have you heard of the Nostalgia Critic? Here's what I think of the Nostalgia Critic. That's Troy when he's drunk. He just starts talking about the Nostalgia Critic.
I'm so proud of you.
I know. Yay. I'm like, if my real friends could see me now.
Oh man, I'm not trying to do a Doug cop out. That's what I thought while watching the movie. It's just like, it's boring, but I like some of these things. Yeah, it's half and half.
It was a little one-sided.
It has some good things, but it also has some bad things.
People are a little hard on
God
this
damn
movie.
it.
But
I can never, no one can
like
ever
this.
have a mixed opinion on a movie again because Doug Walker doesn't have an opinion on things.
The main problem with Moonraker is that it's a little one-sided.
You know, what is Drax's deal? Maybe he had a point.
Yeah. You know, maybe people are stupid. Like in Pink Floyd's The Wall. That's pretty stupid. Anyway.
Take it away.
Wait,
and then Mole.
Jake, Mole.
Mole. The Mole is not doing any, it's not looking good. Bad Mole. 2 out of 5. Bad Mole.
Okay, I'll go next.
All right.
So this one hurts. This one really hurts because I love me my Louis Gilbert. I love me my schlock. James Bond in space sounds like the best thing ever. And like we've all said, it has sporadic moments of schlock genius. But throughout 80% of this movie, I am just so bored and checked out. And I started to feel like, oh my God, I'm watching the same movie again with nothing new in it. And everyone in it feels so checked out. Everyone behind and in front of the camera, it feels so lazily thrown together. The boredom is contagious. I was so bored during this that at one point I paused it and I started procrastinating with work. Like I started working in order to not watch this movie, you know?
Yeah.
But then we get stuff like fighting priest. We get stuff like just finding love. So I can't say it's the worst thing ever because they tried the best that they could with something that they just rushed out to ape off the success of Star Wars. But it's a pretty fucking bland, boring experience for most of it. I don't know if I like it more or less than Live and Let Die, but it's at the bottom of the barrel for me. It's a 2 out of 10. The Mole is starting to become sentient, it looks like. It's grabbing a mind of its own. It's becoming its own entity. I don't know if whether to respect it or fear it. I think maybe a bit of both. But yeah, I don't like it. It makes me feel like a lesser man. So I'm also gonna give it a 2 out of 10.
Yeah. Have you rated it in pigeons?
Oh, well, it's 5 out of 5 pigeons.
Oh, okay.
This is the best pigeon I've ever seen in a movie.
Wait, what about the movie Valiant?
No.
Better than Valiant.
Yes, my favorite movie, Valiant.
We all love Valiant. The movie you watched a commercial of as a kid, and like that's not an official.
No one watched.
That's not an official Disney movie, right? Because if it was an official Disney movie, I would have to go see it because I'm an anal 12-year-old.
My favorite movies are Valiant and The Tale of Despero.
And Garfield, A Tale of Two Kitties.
Good morning, Prince. I have your favorite dish. Lovely. The snob.
Time for a new DJ. Stretch fever.
Garfield! The slob.
Time to grab some chow before I eat your liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
I saw Despero and I saw Tale of Two Kitties. Garfield full circle.
I saw Tale of Two Kitties.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I like the pigeon because I am a cat and I wanted to eat it. But
how delicious did it look?
Oh God.
Okay, but why did you like Holly Goodhead? Anyway,
Paul is wearing one of those cat ear like diadems and licking himself right now.
I'm in full cat girl getup.
And he's going ooh.
Ooh. The weeb is strong. All right, is it my turn to give my opinion on Moonraker?
It is your turn.
All right. Well, I don't think it's a hot take this episode, but this movie also broke my heart. I remember watching it in my first watch through and being, that stupid schlock. It's so stupid. It doesn't go together. And then I had to sit through For Your Eyes Only, A View to a Kill, Die Another Day, Quantum of Solace. And I'm just like, all right, maybe. And I'm thinking back to all the things I love about Moonraker, like the fight, the pigeon, the space station. I love the space station. And yeah, on paper, Holly Goodhead should be a good character. So I'm watching it again and I'm like, all right, Lewis, wow me. But yeah, this is cartoon schlock that takes itself way too seriously. It's boring. It doesn't follow. So when the cartoon moments do come, they feel like we're in a different movie. We have France and California, so I can't even enjoy like the travelogue parts because none of that feels authentic. Everything is contrived. The whole movie should have been set in space because that's when the movie finally feels of a part. But Drax is boring. Holly Goodhead is boring.
No. Yes.
And I'm just like, what happened? Look, Man with the Golden Gun was about Bond as the killer, and we had the hunt for Scaramanga throughout. Spy Who Loved Me.
You're losing me, Troy. You're losing me.
Spy Who Loved Me had the romance. Spy Who Loved Me had the romance, and we had Stromberg going, make sure the Swiss bank accounts. Oh my God, Stromberg was in that movie by the 15-minute mark. We knew everyone by the 15-minute mark. These movies had stories. And just when I thought James Bond was getting better and becoming a franchise and becoming a franchise that was about storytelling and having a main character with
what are you talking about, Troy?
I completely lost.
Troy, I'm off your team again.
I thought this movie series was getting better.
You lost me. You had me and you lost me.
I'm the one who loves these movies, and now you're losing me.
If you're saying this franchise is about storytelling, you're losing us.
I thought it was getting better. I thought they were becoming real movies, but Moonraker is such a backslide. And then For Your Eyes Only has that stupid Zamboni, and these movies are just going to get worse.
Are you crying?
And there's nothing that can save us. There's nothing that can save us. Anyway, but this movie does have a lot of silly things in it. I have just updated my ranking. I have put it above Thunderball. Of all the mediocre Bonds, this is the most interesting because Lewis Gilbert is a good director and there's a lot of wacky ideas in it. 2 out of 5, 4 out of 10, mediocre film, but I appreciate parts of it. In terms of The Mole, 5 out of 10. It's there. It's drooping, but it's resting. It's two-dimensional. I think it's like it's melting to his face. So I give it 5 out of 10 moles.
That's why it scares me, though. It's becoming like part of him.
Well, it's always part of him. It is a mole.
No, but I feel like it's possessing him.
No. It's really gonna assert itself to A View to a Kill. I'm dreading A View to a Kill because I remember the mole is like, it's gonna like subsume his face.
Oh yeah.
That mole is like bursting out of his face, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, the mole, he needs to get that checked. And in terms of Pigeon, yeah, I think this is the cinematic last word on pigeons. This movie is to pigeons what Who Killed Cock Robin is to cock robins. 5 out of 5 pigeons.
What?
Have you not seen Who Killed Cock Robin?
Don't.
It's a 1935 silly symphony where they go, Who killed Cock Robin? Cock Robin. Terrified me as a child.
Okay, so we all agree Moonraker, pretty bad and boring with sporadic moments of great fun, except Paul, who thinks this is a masterpiece.
This might be the best of the schlock.
We went from like everyone pretty much acknowledging that it's a mixed bag, except Paul loves it, I'm so, and Jen and Troy hate it.
I'm crying. Leave me alone.
It's like at the exact same points.
But it's like, I don't know. To me, this movie's like if your son became a Nazi. Because it's like, I can't love you anymore. But
yeah, but you got to admit. Oh no, we can't riff on this, Jan. Why'd you have to take?
No, but because it's like, like I see the beauty in you, and there's still a part of me that loves you, but I can't go there
again
because you're a Nazi.
Listeners,
so you're Padme
Jewish.
from Star Wars.
You're breaking my heart.
I don't know you anymore. You're breaking my heart.
You're living Revenge of the Sith. I can agree. When I was watching Moonraker and it was just James Bond looking at glass, I'm like, you're going down a path I can't follow. What are you doing? This is so boring.
I felt exactly like that. But
yeah, and then they choked me a little bit. And then I'm doing the podcast, and then Paul's like, he's lost the will to live.
You started choking and masturbating and picturing Q.
Don't put that in the listener's mind.
You thought of
Jan.
Q in a horse's ass as you masturbated.
If I die and I see a horse's ass in Desmond Llewellyn, I'll be so freaking mad. I'm like, I can't believe this mediocre movie was on the money about this.
But next up, we have
For Your Eyes
apparently
Only.
a movie that people have reconsidered as good.
No!
Which I remember being bad. But
It's not.
It's not good.
Unremarkable. But we'll see next week. It's been a while since I
Don't
watched
listen
it.
to anime voice actors' lies.
Tune in next
Tune in
time,
next week.
folks.
Wait, you know what is a better movie with Topol in it?
All right.
Flash Gordon. Flash Gordon's great. If you watch one movie that rips off Star Wars, watch Flash Gordon. That's campy. It's fun. Timothy Dalton's in it. It's a good time.
Oh, yeah.
He's my Black Panther. Topol is my Black Panther.
Well, yes, he is. I would agree.
By the way, did you guys, we're still in space for the space episode.
Oh, yeah.
we have to.
Wait, our oxygen levels are running low.
Wait.
We got to attempt reentry.
I didn't think that far.
Wait, what?
I didn't think
my
that we're stuck up here until
Might as well take advantage of that, Jake. Come here. Come under the blanket.
All right, Paul, while they're doing that, we have the DVD to Rio.
Oh.
Paul, do you want to watch Rio with me?
We can't go to Rio because we can never return to the Earth's atmosphere, but we have the movie instead.
Rio, and its follow-up, Rio 2, and its follow-up, Ghost Rider's Spirit of Vengeance.
Tune in next week.
Anyways, goodbye, folks.
We're in space.
Moonraker.
Help, please.
Oh my
call
God.
somebody.
Moonraker.
Call the
Imagine
Marines.
if Kate
Get
Bush,
us down.
Just imagine
I don't want
if
to be
Kate
up in
Bush was in
space.
this movie. It could have been Frank Sinatra and Kate Bush.
This has been hell.
That would've been amazing.
Prepare
Make
to
it
see my
stop.
famous balls between the legs act.
And
All right.
cut.
And we're done.
It's not something he wanted. It's just something that's always been there. Every second, it grips him from within. It's his destiny, his power, his curse. Who is he? He's Garfield.
My life has been saved by the miracle of lasagna.
Let's do it.
He's large.
And that's a sign that the tank is full.
He's lazy.
Mouse! Get him, Garfield!
Get him, John.
And he's in love.
Oh, baby.
You're so cute.
With himself.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Damn!
Down, dumb dog.
He's the original fat cat.
I'm just big boned, okay?
With an appetite for adventure. Garfield.
We'll step it up a little bit. Something like this.
Oh, baby.
I'm a walking the dog.
We're not science fiction. We're, in fact, science fact.